As I'm streaming, does it work? Okay. I'm live streaming. Oh god, I don't want to hear my voice. Does chat work? Anybody? Yes. Oh, yay! Okay, good. And you can hear me? Trust be heard and seen and all the lovely things. I'm a little quiet? Okay. Interesting. Is this better? Hopefully that's a little bit better. Does it sound better? Fingers crossed. Also, I think I can move this chat window. Oh, really? What the fuck? I put my microphone to max. Please don't fall and break. How about that? Oh, that is kind of blocking the light. Maybe I'll put it over here and then turn it towards me. That works. Okay. Good shit. Oh, except YouTube chat isn't... It isn't showing up on the screen. Okay, well, let me fuck with that. Because I set it up, I tried to set it up through Restream so that it would manage the chat from multiple things at once. It manages to get it from Discord and from Twitch at the same time, which is cool, but apparently not YouTube chat. Interesting. Exit. I did that. Notifications. Sure. About supported platform. Yeah, it should be showing. Is YouTube events different from like a? Let's see. Let me look at account settings for this. Streaming setup. Oh god, what button did I click? Interesting. Messages, here we go. Oh, no, this is just analytics. I don't want analytics, I don't care about that. Interesting. Okay, I'm glad the mic sounds better. That's annoying that, let me try to add the chat to... Shit, maybe I'll just go... No, I know what I can do. I'm dumb. Add application. Nope, that's not it. Doesn't let me. That's annoying. Huh. How to add retool chat to OBS. Video live event, 3 dots in the upper corner, select pop out chat. Oh, okay. Alright, I see. Nope, that's not it. Okay. Where is the window? Pop out chat. Okay. So there's that. Alright. I mean, it's not as pretty as before, unfortunately. Doesn't work with like the neat little, oh, and it's smaller. Is that even readable? We'll see, I guess. Oh, and I guess I don't need to, never mind. I'll crop that the other way because nobody needs to be seeing the text entry box. Can I dismiss that window? I don't, hold the chat. Remember to guard my privacy. Yeah, okay, I can do that. Make that window go away. Okay, never mind. I guess that window doesn't go away. It'll be like this. And like that. Okay. So, oh god, what did I do? Oh, I moved a window. Oh, Jesus. I already spaghetti this. Oh my god. Okay, never mind. I think that works. Again, not as pretty, but I'll live. Let's see. That has popped out. That works. There's this. Okay, and what time is it now? 4:51? Oh god, I'm so nervous. But it's gonna be fine. I think I might actually be allergic to these earrings, possibly. Because they're like really hurting my ears a little bit, which I didn't expect. So hopefully I don't... They're probably... I thought that they were a safe metal, but they don't seem to be a safe metal. Maybe. We'll see. I'm gonna go grab a snack really quick. I'll be back in 4 seconds.
We haven't been what you call in love long.
Does she know that?
She knew it first.
Have you guys had one of these before? They're these little Japanese corn snacks. They're amazing. I usually hate like puffed vegetable snacks, but these are awesome. I love them. I need more lip balm too, but where did I put my lip balm is the question. Bro, Japanese snacks are absolutely an addiction. They're amazing. Purple from the other chat showed me these and I had to order a bunch for myself. Anyway though, what the heck did I do with my lip balm? Why did I set it aside to specifically... Maybe I put it back in the makeup bag. Who knows? I love wasabi anything. I love wasabi salt. Yeah, I mean those are like some of the best ones. I love Japanese gummies so much. But yeah, anything wasabi is hella my jam. I've been making my own little salt mixes, and I mixed one with the wasabi salt. Oh my god. It's so good. I'm so happy with it. Hiccups. It's difficult. Oh shit, did I fuck up the chat window? Okay, no, never mind. Checking. Stop. Alright, yeah, bro, I burned through that wasabi salt, but it was such a cute little container too. Alright, I'm gonna ping Destiny and be like, oh shit, okay. How do I fix this? Oh. Interesting. Okay, well at least like the live stuff is working. Got it. Okay. Here, graphs. Yeah, I think it like was confusing my stream from yesterday a little bit. The one that didn't work, but it seems to be working now. Yeah! I'm a fancy YouTuber now. I think I've got everything possibly working. Okay, now I gotta ping Destiny and be like, yo. Oh, God. A little bit nervous. Okay, guys. I think now... What's gonna happen? Oh, wait, shit. Wait, let me open my... I had notes for this. Where's the doc that I made? Why did it not? Okay. AI in art. I can do this. I believe in me.
But yeah, that was I had two quick things. That was the second quick thing.
Okay.
And then I had a longer thing
What was the
after
longer
this.
thing? What?
Well, it's not really that like it's not as memey. So now I don't know if I want to bring it up. Um,
Well,
Bring it up. Just say it. You're
you
here.
might as well. Yeah, fucking go.
no,
Yeah,
I
you're here.
know. Yeah, I know.
Bro,
I
you're
know.
a tier 5. This is your calling. Do it. Go. You're paying
Yeah,
money
no,
for
I
this.
could. You
You
know
don't want
what?
to
No,
regret it.
I'm gonna do
When you're on
something
your
else
deathbed,
instead.
you're not going to be thinking, I regret all the questions I asked Destiny. You're going to be thinking of all the questions you didn't ask me. Okay? So,
I'll be back. I'm a fucking T5. I'll be back. Okay. I got the month. I got the rest of the month to come back.
Can I ask you how
So,
much that flashlight was?
the quick shot launch.
Yeah. How much does it
Uh,
cost to launch?
200.
I think it's
Nice.
it's like 200, something like that. Yeah.
holy shit.
Holy shit,
But
you're
then I bought
rolling in
like
it. This $80 a month sub, $200 just to do what your hand could do, or apparently couldn't
$200?
do.
No. Hold on.
no.
$200 is what his hand could do. He's not replacing a hand. If he was replacing his hand, it'd be a huge waste of money. He's replacing a woman. Okay? That's a lifetime
Hell
saving
yeah.
right
I'm
there.
replacing a woman with another woman that has no fucking gag reflex. Okay? This is
Jesus
like
Christ.
you don't understand. This thing is dog. We're in 2023.
Wait, you're a tier 5 sub. Do you even have a woman to replace?
I have a wife
Excuse
actually.
me. Yeah, he's got a
Nice.
wife.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm in the process of getting divorced, but that doesn't matter.
Okay,
I have a
yeah.
wife, so
He doesn't need his wife. He's got his new girlfriend. It's too bad.
exactly.
Okay?
Literally replacing.
There's a lot of that happening in this chat room tonight.
Oh,
Wait, hold
fuck,
on. I
man.
found the star system mirror. I thought that this is all randomly generated. Are these all preset? Black mirror. Is this the best one I can find? Okay.
When are you gonna be done, Destiny?
Dude, I'm so close. You don't even understand, okay?
No, I don't. So that's why. Why don't you give me a timetable?
No, you wouldn't understand. That's not you don't understand.
Wait, I'm really curious. Did you file for divorce before or after you became a tier 5 sub?
Before.
Okay.
yeah. I didn't. We didn't file. Oh my god, it's a long story. But yeah, no.
I'm sure.
Are you replacing your emotional intimacy with a relationship with Destiny?
I hope so. God.
Ooh, I might be.
Oh my goodness.
Do you feel that your life is being harmed by that investment in the parasocial relationship?
Bro, why are you asking this to go ask that to a tier 1 sub? Damn.
No,
This
it's
guy's
all
paying
good.
$80 a month. I don't need this
It's
guy
all
fucking this
good.
guy, right? Jesus.
You don't need this heat on this product.
Elaborate. No. Like, and elaborate. Like, which parasocial relationship in particular? Like the one with my wife, or just in general, or?
Oh no. I'm saying you've lost this relationship with your wife under whatever circumstances. I was just curious if engaging with Steven in this way is a coping mechanism, and if you're potentially in the vast hole filled by the woman that is now gone.
Oh no. I'm good. Like I still no. We're basically best friends still. We still live together. We have to finish out our lease.
Aw.
We might even end up back together. Fuck if we can't find anybody better.
Aw.
Yeah, we both just turned 30.
Sounds like true love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does, actually.
It actually fucking does.
Yeah.
We've been together for like almost 7 years. 7.5.
That's
Yeah.
significant investment.
Mhm.
Not that sunk cost is a good reason for staying in a relationship.
Wait, how old are you? Are you older than 29?
I just turned 30 like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Happy
you're good.
birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Actually, your voice, you sound like Frosty if you said happy birthday like that.
Does he?
To who, me? Happy birthday? What?
Yeah. You ever seen Frosty the Snowman?
I feel like I have, but I don't remember him
Oh
in
God.
that way. No.
Never mind.
Isn't
sorry.
Frosty the Snowman's happy birthday kind of Kermit the Froggy?
No, just happy birthday, something like that. But the more cheerful voice, and this guy has a cheerful voice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do have a cheerful voice. Thank you. I have a very, yeah. Some people say I have a fat voice. It's not wrong. I have a white voice.
And your name is Tojo. Are you what are you doing there?
That's so my okay, long story, but I'll make it quick. The reason why I picked Tojo is because my dad had a brother. His nickname was Tojo. And I never met him, but my dad used to tell me stories about him, about how he went to jail and how he was a badass and beat people up and might have killed people. I don't even know. But yeah, I thought he was cool when I was growing up during the G Unit days, and I made myself Little Tojo, and it just stuck.
Young Thug, get it, brother.
Jesus.
True. Okay, the last thing I wanted to ask is, what does it take to get like perms to join this room?
You got to be a streamer, okay?
Okay, so is that literally it? I just have to like make a YouTube channel.
No, the reality is you need to be somebody that I think will contribute regularly, and I don't mind hopping in the channel anytime. And right now it's locked to streamers or personal friends. That's what it really means. So if I give it to you, I'm gonna have to start giving it to every fucking tier 5. Okay.
Well, but I'm a tier 5 that has secret information.
What secret information?
Oh,
Interesting.
when you muted, I heard
None of that was
everything.
even true. Okay, so it doesn't
Oh,
matter.
really?
Yeah.
So Vegan Gains gets fucking perms.
Yeah, he's a YouTuber. Okay, and he's a little crazy.
All right. Well, oh, he's back.
Wait,
You-
before Darius.
Don't
Spur-
deny reality, Steven. You're not gonna do it to me. You're
I
not
don't
gonna
know
do
what you're
it.
talking about. Obviously,
My
what you're saying
reality.
has happened. You wouldn't have proof of it happening, so it couldn't have happened.
You're not in again due to you fucking.
I'm just saying, it's what you're saying is impossible. Like you're asking me the question, like, did you see the Invisible Man? Like, well, the answer can never be yes to that. So
I get what's going on. You're intentionally getting me going. You're intentionally doing this because what you want is you want me to box you. You want me to do a boxing
What?
match at the next TwitchCon thing. That's what you're trying to do right now, and you're trying to get me riled up. So I'm like, I'm gonna kick this guy's ass. But you're not gonna do it, Steve. You're not gonna fucking trigger me. You're not gonna trigger me. I'm gonna be my own person and have my own reality that is true.
okay, and
And
I support you in that. Okay.
you don't, because you're lying right now.
You're assuming
Why
I'm
are-
lying. Okay.
Why are you doing that?
You're
Why?
just assuming. You're making a lot of assumptions right now. Okay.
This
Yeah,
is a
I know
based
the
way
whole-
of living, Steve. What you've done is you've made it so that way you know about everything that's objectively true. So that way, when you lie, it seems like such a flabbergasting, like crazy thing. Like this guy looks into a lot of stuff. Why would he ever lie? He loves the truth.
You should talk to Mr. Girl about that.
You are fibbing. I might talk to him about that, because that should be quoted onto his hate piece for you, because that's freaking true. Because you're lying right now, and you know it.
How would you know if he's lying? How would you know in the first place what you're accusing him of?
You're asking me to disclose information that could show out my weapon, and I will not show you my.
Well, the only way you could accuse him is if you're in contact with the person, right?
I've already seen your weapon. It's on Pornhub.
What do you
Ooh.
expect when you do those bits, Tabor? What
Yeah,
do you
Tabor. What do you expect?
It's just a quip.
sucked?
Also, do y'all want to
Ooh.
talk
Do that on
about
the football.
Oh,
AI and
okay.
art? Hey.
Who's
Is
that?
this? Wait, is this the
Hi.
Pep that I recognize from a different stream?
Probably not. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, what Pep do you recognize from a difference?
I don't want to say it.
Then
Probably
the answer's
not.
probably no.
I think it is. It is her. Oh, I'm getting confirmation. It is her. Okay, interesting.
Wait, from what stream?
Yeah.
Can you mute for a second?
Well,
I just don't want to say it.
Whoa!
Okay, it's muted. From what?
Weren't you and Anna stream a bunch? Is that?
Oh,
the
yeah,
Pep?
yeah.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
Nope, stop. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, see,
Oh, hold on,
exactly.
stop. I forgot Tabor is fucking Anna's #1 fucking obsessed.
I
with
am. I
Pep.
just find it
My bad.
interesting that Pep has made
Yeah,
her
okay,
way
okay. Don't worry
into
about
this
it. No,
Discord
okay,
channel.
we're
I
good,
just
we're
find
good.
it interesting.
No,
Good
stop.
grief.
Okay, we're done. I'm unmuted.
Okay,
Stop.
I'm
Okay,
muted.
fucking
Okay.
weirdo. You're
Just
so fucking
found it
weird, dude.
interesting. I just
Jesus
found it
God, you're
interesting.
so
Okay.
weird.
It's
You
just
have
interesting.
problems. You have
It's interesting to
problems.
me.
It's
That is
not that
actually weird.
interesting.
That is actually weird. Nobody knew that but you. Like
No,
That
yeah,
is,
because
yeah.
he's obsessed.
I am.
Yeah, that is.
That's
I
really
actually
funny.
went on. Never mind.
And
But
even even
yeah,
Darius
I
was
didn't know that. So that's fucking yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
obsessed. I admit it. What
I
like
know. Okay,
you
that's
want
fine.
me
You
to
didn't admit
deny it? Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
denying it. You just
Oh
keep
my
saying it
god.
over and over
Dude,
again. And I
you're
agree.
taking it. Do you have other hobbies? Like outside of
Yeah,
football? Like what do you do? You do
I
dog training,
open
right?
Pokemon cards and dog train,
Oh,
and
are
I
there?
have a wife and kid.
Okay, then how are you doing the other? How do you
Oh.
have time for that other shit that you were doing then, dude?
What
Like, what the fuck?
to listen to put a headphone in and listen to streams? What are you
You don't talk
talking
to your
about?
wife at night, like in bed?
Yeah,
Do you talk to
there's
her
a
about
lot
that?
of time during the day, brother.
Do you
A
talk to her
lot of
about like that?
workouts. There's a lot of rehab.
Rehab? Are you recovering? I
Dude,
wait, dude, I don't know what's going on right now.
like physical rehab. I play football. You dipshit.
Oh,
Okay, so
my
anyways,
bad,
Yeah,
AI
what's up?
and art.
I'm
Did you
the
want to talk
obsessed
about
one,
that?
says the fucking meat watcher of Sejin.
Can we
I'm
just?
I'm obsessed.
Wait, is this literal meat watching?
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Well, no, it's. I mean, just okay. Pep, what's up? You do art sometimes, and you want to talk about artificial intelligence and art.
Yes. Okay. I think it's a really interesting subject because art in itself is kind of subjective, but as like a society, we've kind of set parameters for what we do and don't consider art, and that's being kind of hotly debated with the AI versus art thing, and then also the ethics of the current AI art generators are being hugely debated at the moment too. And I have strong opinions on both of those things. And do you know what? So what do you know about like what's going on with like AI and art right now? Do you have an opinion on
I
this?
kind of stand in the periphery, and I just know everything because that's just my job. So yeah, what do you want me to say?
No, I was just curious if you had like formed an opinion going into this or not, whether I was
My
going to be
opinion is
arguing.
that some kind of artist is probably always going to exist in the future. That might just mean literally people that know how to create art for AI things to duplicate. And there might be some very novel forms of art that some artists will still be required to create. But like my thing is that like once certain technology is kind of like out of the bag, it's never
Yeah,
going
exactly.
back in. Yeah,
Yeah.
so AI artists need to, if you're smart, instead of fighting against the rising tide of what will become probably a wave of AI art, you probably need to start figuring out what is your business model going to look like in a post AI art world.
Yeah, I feel like AI as a technology is really, really cool, and I feel like it can be really, really helpful for artists. I feel like we already have some art-based tools that use AI, like content-aware things in Photoshop, things like that. Those are all like AI-based kind of things, and I hope that
While
AI
that's
art
true, just to qualify, while that's true, nobody's using content aware to like do like
create
creative
entire paintings. Yeah, and I think that's the problem that a lot of artists have with it. I think there's like this huge division. The two main sides are people being like, get fucked, artists, get a real job. Today I saw that some people were calling people art cells or draw cells, which is really funny to me.
That's
Yeah,
fucking legendary.
yeah. And then there's the other side that's kind of the other pole is artists being like, all AI art is bad and it's terrible, which I also don't agree with. I think that AI can be like a super useful tool for like doing concept work and things like that, and generating things that like I feel like it's like a more functional Google image search basically. But because I feel like it's a more functional Google image search, I don't really want to qualify the final product of that as art unless a human also touches it. And that's been a hugely debated thing. People are basically like, people are like, oh, artists don't think AI art is real because it's like faster and easier. And I completely disagree with that characterization of stuff. But now there are people calling themselves like prompt artists and prompt engineers, which is like,
Is that like people that know like how to prompt the AI things in order to get certain things?
yeah.
My favorite thing to do, I'm so sorry if you've ever had someone do this to you and trigger the fuck out of you, but my favorite thing to do is whenever people post art on Twitter now, the best response is to say like, oh my god, that's like such a great piece. Like, what prompt did you use? It triggers the fuck out of people.
I was gonna talk about that as like one of the things that's like kind of been irritating as fuck. That they're like artists. There was somebody who got banned. There's an artist who got banned from a subreddit the other day. Although the mod who did that banning was like really stupid, absolutely stupid. It did not look like AI art, and that was kind of ridiculous. But there are a lot of people being like, oh no, you didn't paint this, or oh this isn't a photo, you used AI to do this, and that's kind of irritating. So there are like a bunch of like small unforeseen consequences like that that have been popping up and are interesting. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about is there are a bunch of people who are like, this is fine, this is moral, this is legal, that means it's great, and we should all be creating AI, and artists can just suck it if they think it's unethical. But the issue is that all of the major services that do generate AI art were all using a database that was meant for research purposes, and so they didn't differentiate between copyrighted works and non-copyrighted works. So it's
Yeah,
just
I've heard this argument. I
yeah.
think of all the arguments related to AI art, this is literally the least compelling one to me. I think
Wait,
the
really?
copyright argument, yeah, I think it's super ridiculous.
Why? You think
What I
it's
would need
okay
to
that
know
people
is,
just took people's art and are now generating a profit from it without like
yeah, the
any
argument that would have to be made to me is what is meaningfully different from a computer copying AI art for inspiration versus a human copying art for inspiration?
So
'Cause
that's
humans
actually
train
something
off of copyrighted. Yeah, thanks. Go ahead.
okay, that's a huge that's one of the main discussions I've been having recently. And okay, people are like, "Oh, AI learns the same way humans do." Absolutely not. AI learns by like basically this is going to be a super hyper oversimplification of it. When a human learns how to draw like a figure, they're like, okay, normally people have a head, 2 arms. Generally they have 2 arms and 10 fingers. Da 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 da. AI goes, normally when people describe an image this way, this is what it looks like. And normally an image like this, there are like hands on a figure. And normally where there are hands, there are fingers. And normally where there's a finger, usually there's another finger next to it. And that's why you end up with like all these weird ass like 10-fingered AI things, because it's basically just structured on normally when you see this thing with this description, this is how it looks.
Sure.
And so that's very different from how humans learn. And number two, even if it did learn in the same way humans did, basically it's not generating art in the same way a human would. Because like basically, okay, so do you think photocopiers are artists? Do they create art?
A photocopier?
Yeah. Okay. And why is that? It's because it's just reproducing something that
Yeah, you're
it's
literally reproducing the same thing.
yeah, that's all AI art is doing, just on a large scale. It's not what
Yeah,
makes
but I would
humans
argue
different
I would
from
argue that's essentially what humans do.
no, not at all. So humans, whenever they draw something, it's going to be filtered not through just what references that they're using and what they've learned from. It's going to be filtered through their own personal tastes, their muscle memory, their preferences, how they see the world, things
So if
like
you want,
that.
we can start listing these things out one at a time, but I think every single one of these things will apply to any
AI?
sufficiently complicated AI. Yeah. So when you
Absolutely
say,
not. Well, eventually, I do think that if
well, do
AI
you want
was
to go through
sentient,
before we hop?
yeah,
Do you want to go through each of those things one at a time? And I think
sure,
we can draw
yeah.
like a direct parallel to how. Yeah. So what is the difference you think between what an AI draws from versus what a human intelligence draws from?
I think a human intelligence draws from like basically their whole life experience contributes to how they're going to draw something, essentially.
Yeah. So, I mean, AIs have shorter lifespans, but I mean, they could be accelerated.
But
They
they're
could be
only
acceler-
referencing other images. They're not
Yeah, but
referencing
can a
anything
blind
beyond
person
that.
could a blind person draw something?
But they'd be
No.
using
Wait.
what are you talking about? There's blind artists.
No. I mean a real blind person, not like my vision is 1075 in my late life or whatever. An actual blind person, they could like maybe move their hands on a piece of paper and do something
Yeah,
like cute,
and they can
but they're
sculpt
not
things
drawing
as well.
anything. They're not drawing anything meaningful because they have no references
True.
to draw.
Okay, that's
right?
fair.
Yeah.
But
So humans reference images that they know
yes.
the same way I would say any sufficiently complex AI that's capturing images it knows.
So then I would posit that this AI, none of the current AI are sufficiently complicated enough to reference images in the same way humans do, because they're only referencing from other art, not from like all the visual input humans get their whole entire life.
Yeah, but I mean like hold on. I'm just writing these down. So I don't believe that you believe that argument.
Why not?
So your argument is that humans aren't just referencing art; they're also referencing all of the data input they've had throughout their entire life. If I were to show you an AI and train it on a data set, but I were also to add a data set of here is 40 years of lived human life, and then I were to feed it that data, you probably wouldn't say that, okay, now it's okay, right? You'd say, okay, well, hold on, it's something different. That'd be my guess. Or you can address that argument.
I do think that if AI was sentient, if we got to a point where AI was sentient, I would consider what it would generate art, but currently it's not.
Well, do we need sentience for art generation here? I don't know. Well, because now
I
we've moved on
think
to something way different. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think that I think what art is generally is it's something filtered through a human and then created. That's why we don't
Well,
that's why like copiers, we don't really trust, we don't say photocopiers are art, you know?
I think that, well, no, that fails on 2 points. Because a photocopier can be somebody that is filtered through a human. A literally person goes in and photocopies something.
But the
that's a human.
photocopier isn't the artist. We don't consider that the artist.
Yeah, but we wouldn't consider the artist using a photocopier an artist either, right? If they weren't modifying the image, right?
No, but a photocopier reproducing like actual art that we consider art, even though it's even though it's producing art, we don't consider it the artist.
When you say, I'm sorry, hold on, let me get my head right. When you say photocopier, are you referring to the machine or the person?
The machine. Why would I refer to a person?
I'm sorry. I thought photocopier, like a person that's going to photocopy. Okay,
oh no.
Yeah, a photocopier,
yeah.
The actual thing, yeah, is we probably wouldn't consider an artist, sure.
Yeah.
But that's because it's literally just copy pasting an image one to one, right?
Yeah. And that's basically, AI is just doing that on a really sufficiently complex, granular, large scale. Essentially, it's not.
I would
filtering...
argue that isn't that how humans learn art though?
No, it's different. Well, no, not at all. Like I said, humans don't just learn art by being like, hey, normally when I see this, this is next to it. You learn things like cast light does this. You learn bodies have these muscles and bones in them. You learn that certain colors punch up other colors, that like gray can look like a different color next to other things. AI is just like taking what it's seen and learning none of the depth behind it.
I disagree, but I don't have the art background. I can tell you that for music, this is exactly how music is learned. When you
I feel like music is way more mathematical, and that makes sense.
No. It's not mathematical. If you're a really good musician, one of the things you'll do, at least for jazz, is you will get recordings of old jazz players. You will go into a practice room and you will transcribe their solo. You will be able to learn how to play every single note exactly as they play it. And for really cool licks, you might learn those exact same licks in literally all 12 keys. You'll learn exactly the songs, you'll be able to play it from memory, and then you'll learn certain licks in all of the keys so you can apply them wherever. And then when you go to solo in your own performances, what you're doing is you're taking an amalgamation of all of the transcriptions and all the things you've learned, and then you're applying that to create like new pieces. And that's where like the quote unquote human innovation comes from.
But it's not just, I feel like I disagree with that. I feel like it's not just the stuff that you've copied from other artists. It's probably songs that you've heard too, but haven't taken the time to like learn and copy down, but those have influenced your taste. Or sounds that you even just like hear in the world.
At the end of the day, the music that you're generating as a person is a sophisticated combination of all of the things that have influenced you up to that point, essentially.
That's exactly what I'm saying about art.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is that if you feed all of this information into a machine, if it's sufficiently complicated, it's gonna that process will be the same for a machine as it would be for a person.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is we're not at that stage yet. They're only doing like copying the sheet music essentially. They're not they're not feeding any other data.
They're not copying the sheet music. They're making new, innovative pieces of art.
No, they're not. They're cutting out pieces of the sheet music, pasting them together.
No.
Yes, absolutely. That's literally how it works.
I can show you pieces of AI art that have never been drawn before. You might be able to figure out where something.
But you're taking components and pieces. They wouldn't be able to be generated without the database of art that already exists.
Yeah, but that's true for humans as well. Just look at something as complicated as a movie.
Yeah, but humans aren't just taking directly from those things and then like applying that to a new thing. They're filtered through their own experiences. No, they're not. They're filtering it through their own experiences, which is a huge facet of, I think, what makes it art versus just a generative thing.
I don't have the background in art, and I'm going to say, even without that background, I guarantee you that you can go through paintings of artists and see verbatim, like, oh, this thing was like lifted exactly. Because I know what happens in film. The Akira slide on like a motorcycle, that like shot has been copied. There's a lot of things from Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. But
like,
those
the shots get copied verbatim.
To copy something. Wait. But to copy something one to one, that usually takes like a lot of either inherent skill in that same category or in that arena of whatever they're illustrating. Like if it's like, I don't know, like faces, then being good at portrait work. Or if it's like anime, understanding anime. If you're directly trying to copy them out, this is something that they teach in art school. You reproduce master artists' work and stuff like that. To get it to be exactly that usually takes effort, and you have to learn how to do it. And during that process, like you're integrating those things into your own skill set. You're not just like, okay, here's this, I'm going to copy that. Just like you were talking about the music. It's not just copying a thing wholesale. And if it is exactly the same, it's usually because it took a lot of learning and effort to get it exactly the same. And there are also like
when you reference the learning and effort thing, that feels like it's going into the argument of like, I don't like that AIs learn so quickly. Like I understand it takes human learning and effort to do it.
No, I don't care about how fast it is or how slow it is. I think that there is a process to it, and that process is necessary to like filter it through a person's the way they see the world, the way they've taken in data all their life, and the way they're expressing that data. I think is vastly different from how a machine does it, basically.
Okay. I don't believe it's meaningfully different, but I don't know if it feels like the same process to me. I feel like we make human learning sound more complicated than I think it actually is. Where I think a lot of human learning is literally you go by reference. Once you've built up a sufficient database of reference inside of your own mind, you might be able to tweak some things differently or combine things in innovative ways, and that's kind of where new art comes from. It's not like a genuinely inspired, like here's a brand new process.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But basically, if that was the case, then if like 3 people all learn from the same references, do you think they would all create exactly the same thing?
Exactly the same thing? No, I don't think so.
And why not?
Well, because they don't have the exact same references. They're gonna have like different lives.
Exactly.
And so they've probably seen different things. Yeah.
And I think the different life.
For an AI, I could feed it a different
No. Because the AI is not being fed like experiences, like it's literally just being fed art and photos and things like that. It's not being fed like, oh, hey, I really like sunsets, or I really like something. Like
but these are all like things that you could like toggle for the AI, right? You could feed it more pictures of sunsets if you want. Like the only difference between
you could, but nobody has.
But if they did, you probably still wouldn't be okay with it.
No, I think if it got to the point where AI, like I said, if AI was sentient, it had its own distinctive preferences and experiences that it filtered those things through.
When you say is it sentient, you're adding a whole other thing that's not related to that.
I feel like, I feel like it is deeply related to it because I feel like, okay, maybe not. Maybe, I guess it's how you define sentience. Can something have experiences and have opinions and preferences on something without being sentient?
Can something have a preference without being sentient? Well, we're gonna get it really hard.
Yeah, this is
how do we define preference?
Exactly. Yeah, I was wondering.
But I'm just saying that if you took 3 humans and you put all of them next to each other and you asked them to generate art, the only difference is going to be the references they've seen in their life, and I guess some biological differences. But
and I think those references and experiences, I think that's what makes it that.
But if you took 3 humans that were all genetically the exact same and you gave them the exact same lives, and then you had all 3 of them start to produce art, that art would be exactly the same 100%. There'd be no difference.
Yeah, but that's just because of that's still art because it's still being processed through them. It's just incidental that it's different.
No,
that it's not different. Sorry.
The same.
Yeah, sorry.
But then
it's just incidental that it's not different.
Yeah, but then I'd say for the ML data sets, all we would need to do is feed it like different data from another ML thing, and then we would get different art. But it would be the same thing as a human society. You're just giving it a different data set to go by.
I don't think so, because I don't think that we can give sufficiently like complex enough data sets that could be the equivalent of like human preferences and how those preferences impact how humans generate art.
It's not going to be the equivalent, but now we've entered like a weird tautological world where it's like, well, the only thing that's art is stuff that has human preferences. In which case, if that's how you define art, well, of course I'm going to agree with you because you defined it as
I think that's how most people define art is
well,
things that's why we don't.
But then
that's why
meaningless.
Sorry.
Destiny. Hey,
if you define, wait, hold on. Oh god, before this gets into some weird fucking.
No, it's not. It's
but I'm just gonna say real quick, if you define art as like art is this thing that has come from human preferences, well then by definition, AI art will never be art because it can't come from human preferences, right?
I think that's why I feel like maybe I should budge a little bit on whether it's from a human. I do think maybe from someone sentient, I guess.
Yes, someone who has intentions about the world and has a type of rationality that machines and animals don't have. Like, remember that discussion you had with Vegan Gains about the difference between animals and humans?
Yeah, but this doesn't work because while we might be able to measure like a lack of certain types of sentiences in animals, there's no reason to think that we couldn't create that in a machine. But I don't know if
we just haven't yet.
100%. I agree that if we create, like, if we have advanced enough general AI that is capable of having like the concepts of like truth and falsity and whatnot, who like just has what we would call sentience, or maybe sapience would be the more technical term. Then I think that would be considered art. Like, if it functions exactly like us in all ways, I mean, that's all that's really
Then
required for us to ascribe
Sure, if that's how you
rationality
want,
to
I
it
don't
and
think
the
that.
agency to make art.
Yeah, I understand. I don't think anybody on the planet defines art by like as long as it comes from a sapient creature with intentionality. But I mean, if you want to define it that way, then by definition, AIs can't create art for sure.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that is mostly how people define it, because they're if you take the broad range of art and you look at like naive art that's literally just kind of like intentionally made to be kind of like not sophisticated and things like that, or abstract art that's like there's like Rothkos that are literally just like a big giant square of red, and it's like, yeah, that's super simple, but it's still considered art for a reason. It's
because it was made with intention.
Exactly.
If a human,
When you say, hold on, oh god, we're about to get into the levels of pedantry that we're not even ready for.
Well, I have to go soon. I just want to drop by and try to amend the definition from human to like general sapient rational creature with intention.
We can amend the definition, but like that's literally what we're arguing over, right? So amending a definition, like if you want to like define something as like 1 = 1, then I'm going to agree, of course.
Oh, of course, but it's all a question of semantics about like how do you define art? Like
wait, no, hold on. It's not just semantics. It's material. It's important, right? Do you have to be human to create art, or what is a creation of art? And you can't say like, well,
right, which depends on how you define art.
Well, but that's boring.
Sorry to bring a boring discussion.
No, hold on. When I say it's boring, what I mean is it's not interesting to say, well, how do I define art? I define art as something created by a human. Oh, okay. Well, then I guess AIs can't create art. That's not an interesting conversation. You're not saying anything of meaning there, right?
That's like say.
No. Stop. The actual question that's being asked is, why does something need to be created by a human to be art? That's the question.
Well, yes, exactly. But then you just have the general conversation about the difference between a mere animal or like, a non-thinking thing versus a rational animal, and that's fine to have.
But these are unintuitive things, because animals don't typically create art at the sophistication of an AI that's been trained on human data sets. That's the problem. When humans look at art created by an animal... But you could also say the
same thing about like...
Let me start.
Sorry, go ahead, yeah.
When humans look at art created by an animal, right, we'll look at something and we'll go, wow, the peacock's feathers are nice, or that's like a nice nest. But intuitively... we don't have to do like a big cognitive process to figure out why it's not real art. Intuitively, we just know, oh, look at how simplistic it is. It's made by a dumb animal. But if you get an AI that's creating sophisticated fictional scenes in like neo-realist, surrealist painting styles of like science fiction things, it's much harder to look at that and go like, oh, well, that's definitely not art, right? I think it's a much more difficult thing for people to intuitively grasp. So yeah, it demands.
I think I can agree with that, but I think once people understand that it's not like something that from like artistic reserves the same way a person would, and that it's more just taking little bits of what it's learned like a copy machine, I feel like people understand that more.
But
Destiny, if you were to find out that like there's this example to ask this exact question, which is like if you found out that a bunch of monkeys on typewriters had accidentally, just by pure that tiny little chance that could possibly happen, right, Shakespeare's Hamlet, would you consider that art or not? I mean, I am inclined to say no, in which case we are talking about art 1 and art 2, right?
Sure.
And
if you want to answer that question that way, that's fine, but that's going to be a hotly debated question, right? This is another thing that's a little bit irritating about the AI art conversation is artists want to come out.
This is what you mean by language.
No, we're not even a victim sign. It has nothing to do with that. Stop. People want to come out and people want to come out in the art community and go, oh, no, this is not real art. This is art, when that's not even a settled question in the art community. What is art has been contentious since the first caveman drawing ever, right?
I do agree with that, and I think that's part of its complexity.
Art is a word that it has different connotations, and it's going to mean something different at different... Like, for example, like this crumb on my desk could be considered art if I grew up in a society where that thing was seen to be like something so perfect and what the fuck are you talking about?
The whole point of art and everything.
For one thing, you're just being. I'm just gonna.
So the crumb on your desk, that's not at all.
So it could be considered like.
We can't mute people in the call. This shit turns into a clusterfuck.
Well, I mean, you call me.
You can't just sit here and pretend like something that's not art at all and just pedantry. You're just changing the definition because it's convenient for you. You can't just You can't just choose something that's arbitrary and say in another society, well, this is entirely arbitrary and I could define this as art. When we're talking about art, we're talking about things that people enjoy, like books or film, or things like identifications for different companies. You can't just say, oh, it's a crumb, we can change it. All that matters is what it's used for and if AI can replace what humans are doing.
I think what it's used for, but also the intent with which it was created, like expressing creativity in some way or having a desire to
Okay, so
create
if
something.
the intent is to represent your company, is that art? So like I get a logo?
Well, also, I think that question, because I
I
would
love doing
attack that,
logo
but I would say,
branding design.
I think that's part of an interesting question is, does the intention of the artist matter, right? But
I think
again,
it does.
yeah, that's great if you think it does, but there are some people that would argue really strongly on both sides of that, right? I think the intention
What's
of
the
an artist
counter
is
argument to that?
the counter argument is death of the artist. The intention of the artist is completely and totally irrelevant. It doesn't matter. If your grandmother gave you a quilt and she put a random assortment of letters on it that spelled the N-word and that meant something important to you, and you decided to put that in your car, and people like saw you driving around with the N-word in your car, and you're like, what the fuck? And you're like, oh no, the intention is like really pure. This is something my grandma did. Most people aren't going to care.
No. I don't mean in terms of like whether the intention is moral or not, just whether or not she chose those specific squares for a reason to make a specific piece. I think making intentional choices in art is what makes it art.
Well, but aren't we
Okay,
challenged by
but
forms
when-
of like random art where the people will do like the splatter paintings or the bucket over a thing?
Yeah, and they're
isn't that
making the
chal-
choice to do those. Yeah,
Yeah, but isn't
that's
isn't
with
that
AI is
intent.
making the choice too.
No,
isn't
it's
the
not. Is the thing. It has no
How is
context
it
for
not
making any
making the
choice.
choice?
It's
Yes,
it's
it does.
literally
It has context. It
no.
has
It
lots
only
of
has
experience.
no. It only has the images that it's seen. It doesn't have the context of
Wait,
any preferences or lived experience or
yes,
like,
it
ooh,
does.
so this is like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It does have preferences. Its weightings have preferences, and when it draws images, it can go back and it
So
can
that's
adjust
made
them
by
because
okay.
it
So
doesn't need
actually,
its.
this dovetails into like a side topic. So generative art, I think, is really really cool, and I think that's totally valid as art. But that's because humans, are specifically like doing the programs to make it generate the thing. If every AI artist was like programming their own AI to generate art, I'd feel a little bit more like, oh yeah, you can call yourself an artist because you've created this thing to do this thing. But as it is,
Wait.
people are just using a
Wait.
tool that somebody else
So-
made to do it,
Okay,
so they're
well,
not
self-
really.
self-create.
I don't feel bad interrupting now because I was waiting and then you fuckers jumped in.
Get in
do you
that
think-
like-in.
Do you think so you said if they built their own programs. So
Generative work is
okay, do you
generative art
think
is really
that-
fucking cool. Yeah.
do you think
So wait,
that,
you think if
Hold on,
somebody
now,
Hey,
Big
let
Smoke,
Lycan finish his shit. Oh my god, go, Lycan.
do you think that Steven Spielberg is an artist? Do you think directors are artists?
In some way, yeah, but not in the same way that
Because at the end of the
I guess
day,
it depends in terms of context. Yes.
they're taking, like, they tell someone what the image is supposed to look like when they have
Yeah.
graphic artists making stuff. They are bringing people on that have a certain look that are giving the certain aesthetic they want. They
Yeah.
find the right sceneries and all that. An AI is very often taking these images that it's already consumed and that it's processed and it's putting them there.
Yeah.
People are telling the AI, I want it to look like this, but it's simply the camera capturing the image, putting it all together
So,
as
I
if
would
they
say
had
that-
all those components.
So I would say that the difference there's a few differences. That all the people underneath him are humans that are generating like the art that is eventually produced. I guess it's just like more like a team project. And also he has like a direct say during the process. It's not just, hey, I want this movie. Oh, it's done. Cool. He like
But the final
changes
product
and
is
modifies
still-
things as it goes. But I think that process where you're like taking a direct hand in terms of the creation and modifying the how it turns out, I think that's what makes the difference between like literally a photocopier and then a human. It goes through a modification process.
Well,
Can I
now-
toss
now it
something
seems
in
like
here
you're
real quick,
arguing-
and then you guys
Yeah.
can also tango this. I'll let you two talk about it. Do you consider like photographers artists? Because
Yeah,
are they just copying?
Because they're taking they're taking photos with intention.
Wait, so
they're
the intention
taking-
part. What if somebody just traces? What if somebody photocopies with intention?
I don't know. There are like collage artists, and I would say that collage artists.
No. Somebody
like
that
make-
just traces. I'm watching DBZ and I trace Gohan because I feel strongly about it. Am I an artist?
So
there if I
tracing,
trace
I
him?
would say no. Yeah, you're an artist if you trace. That's how a lot of artists learn. But even a tracing, you're still using your muscle memory. You're still using like it's still going to be at least mildly filtered through a person, and I think that that's important.
There's still a person that is directing the AI.
Yes. True, but okay. Somebody who uses Google image
It's-
search, an artist.
Well, no, hold on. So it sounds like you're now making it's not that human interaction, because I just pointed that like there's a very similar aspect of human interaction between a director and a movie and someone
but I
using
did
this
say
AI
that
generator. But now you're like saying it has to be certain levels of complex interaction.
I would say if you okay, so I get that part this is a part where it does get sticky. I completely concur with that. But I do think that there's a distinct difference between, I really feel like AI art is more like somebody going to Google image search and being like, hey, I want this, rather than a director being like, hey, this is the result we're going for. This is how we're going to do it. Oh, are we achieving that? Okay, let's adjust in this way. Let's do this. Let's do that.
So it's complexity, because at the end of the day, I Google an image search, I'm getting a pre-created image that someone's just posted on the internet. If I go to an
Yeah,
AI
essentially.
machine, I get to go in and I get to give very specific ideas of what I want to be generated, and
I mean, you can
outcomes
give
the art.
specific ideas on Google image search too.
Right, but again, nothing new is being created from it. Something new is
Yeah,
being created when
nothing.
I spit out
So
an AI art.
this is interesting because I feel like there is a debate to be had whether like it's creating
Well,
anything
again,
new when everything is
you
copied,
say new,
and it
but then I'm
is.
going to
But
point to
yeah,
the. I'm going to then point to, if you're like, yeah, but it's new, but it's concepts and ideas that have been absorbed and conceptualized. And I'm like, yeah, sure, but that actor is being reused in movie after movie after movie.
but
That
again, it's
background is
filtered through his
being used.
experience. It's different each time.
But the AI art's different each time.
No, it's not in the same way that a human's work would be.
Wait, why?
It like literally can't be different in the same way because it's still just drawing on the same pool of experience that it has.
No, it's not. It can learn based off of every new piece of art that it generates. It can learn off
Yeah,
of new
true,
art
but
that
that's
you give it. It can
still
learn off of more training time.
yes, but that's still just the art. It's not filtering any like. It's still not going to be filtered through the same like I said, preferences, muscle memory, learning experiences. It is not
Wait,
going
but
to be.
you can give it preferences. You can just have other discriminator.
But that's just
that
weight in
says,
the
"Is this
code.
good
That's
enough?"
not. That's like not inherent. Kind of like something that will modify it in the way that humans. Like.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Will
What
it
do you
not
mean?
change?
Wait, can
its
I ask a
outputs
question
to
real
be-
quick? In reliance to this intention and everything, what do you consider about classical musicians that try to emulate and like copy exactly classical music from the past? So you get like a whole orchestra, everybody's learning to play their instruments exactly as they were played in the past. Everybody's trying to play exactly the same. The pianists are trying to play exactly the same. Are these people
that's
artists?
neat.
Are they creating art if they're just like copying?
I think again, it's like there's a reason why there's some like pianists and violinists who are more lauded than others because it's how the specific person plays it that makes it a new
'cause I think
experience to see.
Yeah, but if they're trying to play it just exactly as the past, they want to duplicate a past performance essentially. How is this different than like an audible photocopier?
I think because it took, like I was saying before about people who can do like photographic reproductions of art, it's going to take like to get that level of exactitude, like kind of specific exactness, like that level. It's going to take a lot of deviation from just like how they do it. It's going to have to still be filtered, and they'll have to like constrain and control those filterings to get to that. And I don't think
So
most
is it just
people
then
who
the difficulty part of it? That's what now it makes it sound like it's about how difficult.
no,
it is.
it's not at all about how difficult it is. Because there's certain art that I can like I could emulate a Rothko in like 2 seconds, but it wouldn't really be kind of like to actually learn more about that. I would need to like know more. But the actual creation of a Rothko, just painting like a red thing, the difficulty of that is small. Do you see? That makes sense.
Kind of.
Steven, I have a question for you.
Jesus. I consider AI artists terrorists. Yes.
What is an art in your mind?
I don't know. I've done enough.
So is
music
everything
school, and
art
I've
under
done,
your definition?
I have no
like
definition for
is
art.
a car crash art?
I have no definition for art because
Is
any
me
definition that you
walking
try
down
to
the
give,
street
anybody can
drinking
challenge it,
coffee?
and you'll never be able to defend it. You
Doesn't
will
there
never
have to
be
be?
able. You'll never
I
be able
think
to
that
defend a consistent definition of art. I'm telling you.
I think that there might be. I think that there might be AI art that definitely qualifies as art, but doesn't there have to be some intentionality or like a modicum of some intentionality, whether it's from the viewer or from the person who makes it? Otherwise, literally everything is art, and there's no limiting.
You want to argue that it's fine, but like the whole, I'm pretty sure during like the 70s and 80s, and I'm sure there's been tons of periods in history. I know that for music, it was people like John Cage, it was atonal artists like Schoenberg. Like people are challenging the concept of what is music constantly. When it comes to art, who was the guy that put the toilet in the art museum?
But what's consistent? The consistency is the only
intent.
consistent thing is that someone wants it to be perceived as it. And the other, or that someone is perceiving it that way and they're intending for it to be perceived that way, either at the time of creation or at the time of enjoyment. But
The
literally,
intent and the
that's
hand
the
of the
only
creation.
consistent.
Yeah.
That's the only consistent thing you have. Otherwise, like I said, me walking to get coffee is art.
Sure. I mean, you can argue then that, but then at the end of the day, what you're essentially arguing then is that art just needs to have human input, or what?
I think so.
have
I
human
think so.
creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No,
think so.
So wait, if you
Or not
have 10
human, but
images,
sentient. Like I said, sentient input.
if you
I
have
think
10
it needs
AI
to have.
generated images and
absolutely
you pick up
is
one,
pivotal. What's that?
What?
if you generate 10 AI images and then pick one to put on the cover of your book, is that now art?
I think so.
So
I even
because
think that
I
even
see, I
think that
disagree on this point. I feel like
I
you
think
need
that
to modify
curating something
AI
could
art
be art
to.
if you intend it. Like, let's say that you make a playlist of, I don't know, the best playlist for whatever workout you're doing. I think that if you're intending for that to be an artistic endeavor,
Yeah, there's
and
DJs.
people,
Yeah.
like I think that that's probably art. And so
Sure.
you curating, right? Like, who can argue that like curating a particular apartment and like a collection of colors isn't art? And I think
people
that's
argue
only
with that.
So-
But
so then-
people do argue that because there are people that argue that DJs aren't musicians. People that do mixes aren't musicians.
Would you argue that though?
No, I
a
wouldn't. I'm
DJ
just
that
trying to
plays
say that, like,
songs, though.
I would say
you can
there's a
find other
difference
people
between DJs who just play like unedited versions of their own songs
Yeah,
and DJs
people
who
that
make
do that.
mashups and mix things together.
I'm
I do
just saying
think
it's
there's like some
silly
debate
to
to be had
enter the
there.
conversation of AI art versus human art and pretend that what is art from a human perspective is solved. This is something that has been debated.
That's why I said it was an interesting
then-
conversation because it is
Sure, I
kind
know, I
of
know.
like
But I'm just saying, like,
subjective.
please go trying to
Yeah.
be like, oh, well, no, we clearly know what is art. Art is something
No,
that's
no, no,
human
no. I'm just saying.
intentionality.
Listen, we
I do
have
think
to
there's
have-
certain parameters that we have decided. Like, there's a reason a photocopier isn't an art, but an art isn't an artist, but an artist is.
Wait, a photocopier can be a tool used to make art.
Exactly,
think
yeah.
that
But we wouldn't call
if-
it an artist. We wouldn't call a brush an artist, even though it's the
Wait,
thing that makes
if
the
you-
art.
Well, I don't think anyone's calling the AI unless we think the AI has sentience, because I think sentience is necessary.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I don't think it can create that.
But human beings who are manipulating the AI, just like they're manipulating the paintbrush, they can
I
be
think-
artists, can't they?
So wait, why is the thing coming out of the photocopier not art?
it is
Well,
art.
hold on. Careful. The
No, no, no,
photocopier
it
question.
is-
Wait.
Don't
The
confuse
photocopier-
creativity.
The photocopier question is tricky. They're not asking what is art. They were saying,
Yeah.
is the photocopier an artist? Those are two different
Yeah.
questions.
No,
Yeah.
the AI is not an
No, no, no,
artist.
no, hang on,
the
hang
thing
on.
that
Yeah.
comes out is art.
That's an important
Yeah.
distinction between the art and the artist. Who's the author of that work?
Yeah.
And the other distinction is it a creative or original work deserving of protection? That's something totally different.
I don't
The
know
second
about.
one is
I
no.
don't think. I think the second part gets kind of nebulous because some people do really boring shit, but it's still art. It doesn't have to be creative or
That's
like
what I'm saying, right? So
original.
it's a
Yeah.
separate question. If you guys
Yeah.
could say, I could photocopy the Mona Lisa, and each one of those is art, and I'm making art. It's not
Yeah.
creative art. It's not original art.
Yeah.
But it is art. I'm intending for it to
Yes.
be art. But on the other hand, me walking to get coffee isn't art. Now, but hang on. If I make it a performance, right? I make the theater, and I want my walk to Dunkin' Donuts to be art, and I put on, and like people come to watch me do this very elaborate routine walk to the Dunkin' Donuts. I think you guys would all agree that's probably art.
Well, so then here's a question. Could somebody
Wait,
else-
would you?
Well,
Steven?
yeah, if you were doing an intentional performance of it.
Yeah.
But here's a
Performance art is a
question.
thing.
What if somebody else decided that it was art, but you didn't?
That,
I mean, that's
those
literally
are
the
the harder
discussion
questions.
we're
Yeah.
having
So,
right now,
so
yeah.
the
Well, but that
harder
is the question
questions.
because I can look at like an
Well, that's
AI
actually-
art
yeah.
and intuitively it feels like what if you do an elaborate thing, but like you just kind of do it yourself? You've got like OCD and you do some crazy shit. What if I
Yeah.
observe it and I'm like, man, this is like
Well,
artistic.
let me give you the hard
stuff.
the hard examples for my case are like, and this is why I said either the user or the creator is. Let's say that I totally accidentally slip, and I create this like I don't know, a brush lands on a canvas and it's beautiful and everyone loves it. Everyone agrees it's art, but hell, I never had any intention to make that. Or like, let's say that you accidentally push start stream and you never intended to start a stream and it's just a stream of you eating something in your underwear and the people love it, but you never intended to start that stream. But people are like obsessed with this stream of you eating stuff in your underwear. Like, isn't that art? Even though there's no
Yes.
intentionality behind it, I
The
think
perception, the perception angle is interesting.
that you can't just go on the creator angle, because if you do, then something that is totally indistinguishable that everyone considers art, that humanity views as art, ultimately could be sort of nullified just because you happen to know that this was a complete accident.
Yeah, so then like the
But I
intuitive
feel like
or go ahead.
if the person that is the person being observed is kind of like, I didn't intend this as art, it's weird that people think this, I feel like they would be kind of qualified in saying like they're not an artist in that way. They don't consider it art, but people observing it can decide whatever they
But
want,
isn't
I
that just
guess.
memes? Isn't that just meme culture?
I don't know. I think that for art, intent of the artist is also like, to me,
I
it
like
seems
that.
important too.
So the
Yeah, I
person
don't
who
know.
accidentally streams is not an artist, but they created art. Were you okay with that, actually? That someone who is not an artist made art.
That's interesting. I hadn't actually thought of that. I feel like that's why I wanted to have this discussion, because there's like a lot of subjective weirdness to it, and I am curious about delving into it and running into things like this where it's like it is nebulous.
Yeah. All right, here's another one. Are like stop signs and road paintings art?
No. Unless they're intended to be, right? Let's say you make a stop sign.
There was actually a discussion about this the other day in go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna follow up on that. So then when we go back and we find the cave paintings of trying of like deer migration patterns or things like that, we call that art. That's cave art. So why is it not the same?
I think I think there has to be an intentionality. Now things can be multi-purpose, right? Maybe it's both artistic and it's functional. I don't think that everything has to be one thing, but I think there has to be a modicum of intentionality or a modicum of creativity or a desire to put something into existence.
People were talking about this the other day in like DGG art chat about like our doorknobs art. And it's like, well, probably there was an original artist who designed the doorknob, but like probably the end result that's like mass manufactured without the intent of it being like art is more debatable.
Isn't the design of the doorknob supposed to be aesthetically pleasing? Yeah, I say
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think you need intentionality.
Then everything is art then.
Yeah, I mean, it could be as long as people perceive it as art. Because like, imagine all the memes that get made of like people like cut on stream or people just random images that get taken, like the 1984 comics.
But that is with intent,
or things like that.
So everything is art, but wait.
Yeah, everything can be art. Yeah.
Okay, but that's our position, right? Everything can be art.
No, that's our position.
No, that's my position. Yeah.
So
AI
everything can be art, but there has to be a connection to a sentient or conscious creature having some kind of reaction or intentionality behind what they're experiencing.
Wait, hold on, whoa. Reaction and intention, you described the opposite sides of both of those things, right? Because that's so here's the question. You walk into a place and you see a grand, awesome, beautiful mural on a wall. It elicits a ton of emotions from you. You feel a certain type of way about it. And then you know, wow, that's the most beautiful piece of art I've ever seen. Then somebody comes by later and they tell you, oh, well, actually, that thing just landed there by accident. Like the rain fell on a certain pattern and created a thing. Is it no longer art to you, or?
I think that there has to be some space for viewers and observers and art enjoyers to determine something to be art, even though its creation or its inception was not intentional.
Right. So then here's one. If we want to go to the audience enjoyment, well then, if a guy takes a shotgun, shoots himself in the head, splatters it all over the wall, and it's now an album cover, is that art?
Yeah, I think if you take that picture, I think that would not only do I think it's art, I think that would be probably protected in the United States.
Okay, but
Somebody in chat just said it's art. People using an art artist though, their clients. Yeah, I can agree more with that. I still don't think AI itself can really make. I think it gets back into the definition of like art being filtered through something, but I do think that that's a more accurate representation than what most people are saying.
If people can enjoy something that wouldn't traditionally be art, why would AI creating images not be considered art if people enjoyed them the same way? If I was to be able to put it up as a logo for my company,
well, so this is one of those things like we were talking about before, how basically anything could be enjoyed as art. Like you can look at what was it, like a crumb on the desk and be like, wow, that's artful.
That is just the most beautiful crumb.
Yeah, but whether most people would agree is kind of where it gets.
I think you have to make some kind of appeal to, from the viewer perspective. I haven't thought about this. I'm just thinking out loud. There has to be some kind of appeal to consensus or to agreement with respect to the viewer experience. And I think that like it might be sufficient for just one person to intend something for that to be art by itself. Maybe that's how I distinguish it.
And so then next thing I would say is you're totally ignoring the intention of the person who is creating the AI, because the purpose of that AI is to be able to make hundreds or millions or infinite number of works of art from
that could
different
be art.
fonts.
Yeah,
So
I totally think that could be art.
So this is where it's interesting to me. What is the difference between that and somebody doing Google image search? If all they're doing is typing words and then something comes back.
Wait, no, it might be.
How is it novel when it's literally just taking things just from its database? It's not changing.
It's not taking anything from its database. Do you know how AI art is generated?
So it learns off a database, and
Sure.
I think when it gets down to
bite
it,
the bullet. Rachel, you have to bite the bullet there.
Bite the bullet on
that
the
it wouldn't be able to generate the things it creates without that original database.
You have to by
I
default.
mean, Google search would be art, but it's not.
What?
You're
You
not
just said
creating
looking at
art
a
by doing a
crumb
Google
and
image
thinking
search.
it's art makes it art. You just said that. So how would a
interesting.
Google search not be art if you wanted
Yeah.
it to be? Or
Well,
if you thought
it
was,
wouldn't
if it was
be
a
it wouldn't be
beautiful search.
new, novel, creative art the same way that an AI creating it is.
Wait, no,
The same way the
novelty
photocopier
can't be a
isn't.
part of your definition of art. Is creativity and novelty part of your art definition?
Yeah, because there's that whole
Creativity,
like
no.
nothing
Novelty,
news.
yes.
Wait, so
Yeah.
a crumb is novel and creative to you, and that's meaning your definition?
That's unique in 3 dimensions, sure. Or
Dude, stop. Because the
That
What do you mean?
seems a bit much.
if that's unique enough, then the Google search has different
I mean, if I
electrons
was to
going
post a
off.
picture of my crumb on Reddit and people were like, "Wow, that's the most
So
amazing crumb,"
wait, but
then
you
yeah, that's
posting a
art.
picture of that crumb is the art. That's the art. That's you taking
Can't see it
your
in person. All right, so if I open a museum in
uh-huh.
my bedroom where there's like the breadcrumbs or whatever that I spilled on the floor, and I
Yeah,
exhibit
same
it
thing with
as
the Google search.
Yeah,
Google
that's the
search stuff.
intent. You're
I
making it
go
into
to
art by
the
doing that. You're
yeah.
showing people how you're observing this thing and going, yes, I've perceived this as art. Please look at it in the same way I view it because this is what I see in my head and why it's art.
Absolutely, yeah. The Google search just says totally. There's nothing that distinguishes it from the crumb example.
well, no, the thing that Google search is explicitly doing is it's explicitly copying images that are out there already and just displaying them for you. So it's just
Why
saying,
is
"Here's this
copying?
picture, here's this picture."
Why is copying not? Is copying not art? Copying is art. If someone
Yeah, we
perceives it
did say
as
that
art,
people
it's
could
art.
copy master paintings and it was art. So
I don't understand why you
That's
were
funny.
saying copying isn't art. A Google image search, under your view, is just as much art as AI.
Sure, I guess if you want to do it like that, it doesn't. I think fundamentally there's
What do
a
you mean if I
difference
want to do it
between
like
just
that?
copying and
That just
returning
sounds
things
like
that are already there.
yeah, it is. It can be art.
I mean, I
why
guess
are
it
you
could
so
be, yeah.
hesitant?
Because I personally wouldn't consider a Google image search art, but you could
Why
consider
not?
And
other
why
things
wouldn't
to
you?
use
Is
it.
it because it
Well,
like
because you're
dilutes
just
the meaning
literally
of art?
taking something that's there. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. Like if I take 5 pictures out of a magazine
Yeah.
and I stick them like together,
Wait,
I'm not going to
that's
say
more
that's
art
art.
than that though. Collage is literally more art with intention than Google
What do you
image
mean?
search though.
Google image search is just
Yeah.
digital collage.
No, it's not.
Collage is
The,
art.
the computer,
You-
it's
you
not
said
collage
a-
for you unless you take those
wouldn't
images and
consider it.
collage them together.
I personally wouldn't consider it art, but if a
Why
3-year-old,
not? Why wouldn't you consider it art?
because I don't think sticking things together that are already out there in ways that are hardly novel
What?
are. isn't
That's
art.
literally AI, basically.
Bro,
That's
you
not
said
what
That's
AI
funny.
is at all. You don't. You
No,
just
it
don't
basically is
understand.
because it literally wouldn't be able to create what it's creating without the representations that it already has. If you just put experiences into it,
Okay,
if
well,
you
neither
just
could
put
you.
preferences,
I mean,
Yes,
What do you
think
mean?
to
you
be clear,
could
that's
create
the same,
generative
for
AI.
humans. Blind humans wouldn't be able to draw art, right? They can do the mechanical things, but they can't draw art in a meaningful way for us because they can't see it. They need references.
but they
as
could do
well. Humans
sculpture. And if
So
they reference from
That's a good- but
sculpture,
not-
they
but
would
that's
still have
not-
their own preferences to do it.
But
Okay,
that's a
but
different thing,
with
right?
an
If you
AI,
remove if you took a crippled blind person, they wouldn't be able to do it, right?
you can
Great.
create
I
an
can't
AI
get over
from
this.
scratch. You don't even need any
No,
human
I think
images.
that-
You can train it from scratch by itself. It would just take a lot longer, so people just don't do it. And you could
Wait,
still
no,
put
no, no,
text
no.
in them
We've
for that.
seen AI trained on like really shitty small models and it creates absolute garbage.
Oh wait, because these are really shitty small models. If you wanted to put
Okay,
like
so what do you-
$200 million into it, you could train it from absolute scratch, where it'd be generating its own images, its own captions, and everything else, and you could have it self-train over time through a GAN or something of that nature
So-
in order to get it to
You don't
output
even
the
need
exact
that though,
same
right?
thing
I
that's
mean,
happening.
So again,
like,
it's
why
it's
even
still
talk
not
about
going to
AI? If it-
modify or
you-
filter through that through anything other than what it's already seen image-wise. It's literally just taking the images and creating things based on those images, and that's why it's different from a human. That's
Wait, a human only can create based on the things that it's already seen and created in the past.
not
That's no
just
different
the
than
images.
model
A
that you
human
can-
doesn't create art just from the art that a human has seen. It's not just going like, oh, I saw this comic, I saw this painting. Now all
mean,
the art I
it-
create
I
is
mean,
how
just
else
going to
does it get its-
solely. It's
It
not
does,
going to
it's just-
solely be created on those. Not
It is,
solely.
It's just a little bit.
It
It
is.
is. You're just not
No.
cognizant of it, right? Of
No,
course.
absolutely
You can't
not.
create
It's
art
not
based on things
solely
you have no
created.
experience of.
No, it is not the sole input though. Having the art and seeing the art you see be the sole input is bonkers. That's the problem.
Okay,
It's
so
like
if I
all
added
the
some
other
music to
aspects in your
train
life.
the model, if I added some music, if I, added some text,
No,
if I
this is
added
this
some
is
other
why
stuff,
I like made the sentient conversation because I feel like a person's preferences, their muscle memory, their knowledge, their what makes them makes them make things different from the next artist who has seen the same
Okay, but
paintings.
the AI does something different, and every AI you create is going to be different, and it
No,
still
but it's only
creates things that
but
people would
it's
consider
not.
as
No,
Here's-
it's-
this is what's- wait.
With
This is
every
what's
AI
wait.
is-
This is what's happening. This is why the conversation seems like it's more. But you're making it more complicated than it is. We're saying that AI art creates art based on inputs, and that we understand that it's limited to that. And you're like, okay, well, humans don't just create art based on inputs; they create art based on their inputs and more complicated inputs. That's all you're saying.
And I'm saying that AI art
But
doesn't
then
have enough complicated inputs to do more than
you're
just
being
like
slippery.
reproducing in
I'm not being slippery.
different
She's
things.
saying because, no, because she's saying that like, hold on, well, AI art just gets a bunch of images and puts things in.
Yeah.
But humans have like a collection, a lifetime of images. Okay, well, you could filter those same images into an AI, the exact same images, but you probably still wouldn't say, oh, well, now it's art. You probably wouldn't feel any differently at all about it.
You guys are
No, I'm saying if an AI has if an AI has preferences, I would consider it art. I would consider that filtering it through something that isn't just a tool that takes point A to point B.
That's what it does internally, though. It takes a look at its output,
doesn't.
and if
It's-
the output
it's-
doesn't match, you can put a discriminator function on there where it'll discriminate. It'll take a look at the final output
But
of
it's
art. and
still
say, "No, this is
only
something I don't
using
like,"
those
and then
things
starts
within
filtering
it.
you out.
That's the thing. It's
But
not
only
using
humans are
anything
as
from
well.
what it's.
Humans can only use what they've seen and what's in it. It's not like.
But the
some unique-
thing, but what I'm saying is humans are using more than just the art they've seen. And I think that that's an important distinction. And that's what makes it different than
what
just
else
the
could
art.
a human possibly use than the things it's seen?
Not just the things the things it's seen. Well, actually, no. Muscle memory is a thing that is not seen. There's
Why- we keep saying
also
muscle memory like it's some special, unique thing.
it is there's certain artists can do like things that I can't do because they have better
There's
muscle
certain
memory to
things
do
robots
stuff.
can do that you
No,
can't do.
you can do
That's
anything an
true.
artist can do. It's just a matter of training for it, right?
Yeah, I do think training is filtered through like a person, like their ability to practice and do that thing and like how exactly they want to mimic somebody else's style. I feel like all of that is filtering through human experience.
Okay, well, this is filtering through robot experience.
And I don't think robot experience really, I don't think it experiences. It only has the
So
image
you
data
just-
that you're giving it. It
So you
doesn't
just feel
experience is the
that robot-
thing.
You just feel that the AI
No.
doesn't do things, even though you're having a human
No,
train
no,
it
no.
and making the choices as to what images to feed it, how to train it, and what outputs it wants in and out. And that's not enough for it to be art. Even though you have a human using a tool to create an output that looks
I
better
have
than
said I
yours.
think that would be like the more debatable part, but I don't think it's actually human. I don't think it's art unless a human modifies it beyond that. I think people who do
Wait, what?
in painting and stuff, that I would be more willing to budge on and say that that's art because a human is like painting the parts of the painting, things like that, choosing with intention, not just like, hey, anime titty lady, and then it just summons the anime titty lady, you know?
Well, but he's already created the tool for that, right? Because then you're
No,
going to
he
say, run into the same thing as like, say I
No,
have a
it's-
pen, right? Well, all
Okay.
you're doing when I'm taking a pen and drawing with a pen is using a tool to put some blots on an image.
Yeah, but you're
right? I'm just
choosing where
using a
those blots
tool
on
and
that
I'm
image
not
go.
modifying it any further.
No, but you're choosing where you place all those blobs. You're choosing what that tool does far more specifically than AI art does.
Okay, but if I take a paintbrush and splatter it on
That's still a choice.
canvas,
That's an intentional
well, it's-
artistic choice.
it's an intentional artistic
You
choice.
guys
for
are
me
putting
to
the cart
create
before the
filters
horse. They
that
got
say
these
that.
people think Destiny and Rage Pope think that like Mother Nature making a flower petal,
So-
as long as a human observer, believes it to be art, that's all it takes for them to think it's art. That's
So
my
then-
understanding. So like, I
Wait.
don't know why you're wasting all this time talking about the creation process
No,
from
no,
your
no.
side,
Let's go.
Rage Pope,
let's
because
go to
like
another one. What
you
about-
think that any little fleck of dust, as long as one person perceives it as art, is art. In which case, I don't know it's too broad to be useful at all.
Yeah, welcome to fucking art.
Well, I feel like that's like
no-
the problem
no-
though. It's
any
the
word
same
that's
thing that's
that
happening with like
broad-
a lot of terms nowadays is they get diluted until they're no longer useful.
So-
like Nazi or
That's your
like
problem with
rape,
the
things
term
like
Well,
that.
no, no, so I just
with
want to step
gender.
back to the tool thing for 1 second, then we'll go to Pisca's one. So for the tool thing, what about a camera, right? The camera has no agency. It just does whatever you do.
No, but a
it, and then it
person
copies
chooses to
exactly
take a
what it
photo and
sees.
makes the decisions in that.
Well,
in
but I
that
chose
aspect.
to use my AI to make the thing that I wanted to make.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I just don't think it really is in the same way though. I think that's like the closest thing
Why is
I've.
it not any different? Because the tool that you're putting in, every time I put something into the tool, it's going to spit me
I
out
just
some
don't see how
output
that's
that I made.
measurably different than like somebody typing something into Google image search, really. Like I feel like the concept is there, but I
Google
don't think
image
the
search-
execution.
So
Yeah.
when Google image search goes off, it says,
Mhm.
"Hey, what images are on the internet that matches tree?" And it'll take hundreds or
And
thousands.
AI goes,
however many
I've learned
images,
that
and
when
just display
people.
those.
Yeah. But when AI, you type something in AI and it goes, oh, I've learned that when images are
No, it
titled this,
doesn't.
they look
I
somewhat like
thought you
this.
agreed. I
No,
thought it was
no,
art.
that's not
Wait, Rage Pope, you had already agreed.
It's like
that a Google
image and
search
word pairs
can
is
be
like a
art.
huge basis for it.
I personally don't think it's art, but I don't
Wait,
know
no,
how
no.
to define art.
Wait,
though.
you
I
agreed.
don't think
I thought we
collages
agreed
are
on
art.
that. Wait,
No,
a collage is not art. A
No, I don't
playlist
think
can't
it's
be art, but a fleck of dust can be if one person thinks it is, or like a piece of poop. If
not if
one
one
person
person
in the
thinks
entire world
if
thinks that that's
hundreds
art,
of
it's
people
art,
think it is,
but
then
not a
yes.
collage.
But not one person. If one person doesn't, fuck. All right. So if you just make a collage, I just think that's copying and sticking things together. I don't think it has any real meaning or anything else. If a million
Dude.
people in the world say that's art,
But
that's fine.
that,
Because
yeah,
again,
there's a
art is
ton of
literally
people that
just
say that's right.
subjective.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean
I'm
anything.
asking. Okay,
It
so
only has meaning
then don't get
if
into
other
this,
people
and
assign
don't
meaning.
fight. Then don't fight her on the Google image search. If all it takes is subjectivity,
No,
don't fight on the Google image
Also,
search. And say,
everybody
yeah,
who's like saying I'm
no,
just hating
because
on
so
art
when
and
I
worried about
create
losing my
Google
job,
image
I
search,
think
people
AI
aren't saying
AI
that that's
things,
art.
art things are really fucking cool, and I'm really hyped about them as tools, and I'm really excited to use them. I'm not stressed about that. That's not why I think it's an interesting discussion because it's so subjective and weird.
Wait, Pisco brought up something that I think is interesting that I wanted to ask earlier is, do you guys think that nature can create art?
I think of enough people. My personal opinion is, if there's one person who intends to make a piece of art, who intends to do it creatively, I
Yeah.
think that intentionality from the creator side is probably enough to make it art. And I think from the the experiencer side, I think it requires more than just one person's idiosyncratic view. I think it would probably require some kind of
Yeah.
consensus, because otherwise, literally, we could say one person who thinks their piece of poop, or a piece of poop that someone else poos, who didn't intend for it to be art, just looks at it like, wow, that is magnifique. Then, like, all of a sudden, that's art. Then the definition, I think that for the experiencer side of it, there probably needs to be something more substantial than one person considering it to be art.
Would you be okay with religious people saying that the Grand Canyon is art because God made it?
Am I okay with it?
Would you be
I think
accepting
that
of
just
that
goes
being
back to the
art?
perception thing of it. Yeah.
Think about what they mean when they say that. What do they mean when they say the Grand Canyon is art because God made it? They are ascribing to God an intentionality. This is part of His design. And
Yeah,
even
but
with
he doesn't
for the
exist.
people who try to,
Yeah.
even for the people who try to like say that evolution is part of God's plan, it's because God is the prime mover. He's the designer of this plan. That's what they mean by
So
that.
then, if you don't believe in God, then do you not believe that it's art?
I think that
And then
if
now
you,
is it art?
I
Depending
think
on
that
whether or
then,
not
Well,
you
I
believe
think
in it.
that
that's the
takes
thing
away
where
the creator kind of art, and it
You're
puts it more of like,
re-asking the analogy that I gave earlier of imagine you stumble
Yeah.
into a forest, you find a beautiful painting on a wall, and then
Yeah.
you find out later that it was there by accident versus they're being created by.
yeah, but in that case, like that's what I mean. Like it can't, for the creator. I think that it's enough if there's probably enough if you have an intentionality to put something into creation that's art. But for the viewer side, there needs to be something more. There needs to be an agreement or something else more substantial, other than just any sentient creature's individualistic perception. Otherwise, it really just blows up. And I don't know why Rage Hope is fighting on the Google search or like fighting on these weird
Because
grounds.
I think you need more than one person to just
Yeah,
like
okay,
say
so then
like this is
then
art.
it seems like everyone agrees on that, and so it's not just purely subjective. Otherwise, the word
Yeah.
is truly meaningless. And I don't think that even Steven thinks it's truly meaningless.
I do.
Okay, then everything is art. Then
Yeah,
then
that's
every
yeah. You're not saying anything like that's not a
you
gotcha.
coughing is art.
You're not
coughing is
going
art.
to say anything here that is
Okay.
going to be novel to me, right? Yes, this is the whole debate on what is art, right? John Cage's piano piece, like 4:33, I think, is just him lifting the piano thing and sitting there for 4 minutes and 33 seconds saying, the sounds around us are music. Anything is music. That was literally the point of that piece, right? And I'm sure you can find equivalents. I don't know, I only know music, but I'm sure you can find equivalents to that across every single art discipline where people are like, anything can be art. Look at all the, like Pollock paintings or whatever, like the random fucking shit. Yeah, of course. Like just trying to
any
challenge
one
"Do you think
individual.
anything can be art? Yeah, people have been arguing this
any
for
one
centuries.
individual, any one individual, no matter how insane, no matter the whole world, all sentience except for one sentient creature can be in agreement that that thing is really just mundane. It's really just empty space. It's nothing. It's actually nothing. But there's one person, one mind that says that nothing is really, really beautiful. There's beauty there, and that's art. And you can, the one
But you need more
outweighs
than a
the
person.
multitudes.
Art is not decided by committee. Like that definition, I would never go with. That like in order for it to be considered art, there has to be like a majority of people that agree.
It doesn't
that
have to be a
art.
majority. There just has to be more than one. Like if
Doesn't need to
there's a
be more
small
than
group-
one. One person couldn't make art for themselves.
Well, I think this is just kind of like this
What
is the
if-
same kind of
no,
issue
I'm
with
saying if
aesthetics
more
and
people-
deciding like who is beautiful and who isn't. Everybody's going to have some disagreements, but there are largely broad categories that we can all agree on.
Not when the question is what is art or what.
I think
is
there's
music or what is-
there are a large. I would say that you can gather a large group of people and a lot will feel the same way about what art is and have the similar definition.
I don't think
Saying
so.
that
I
people
think if
will
you just
agree with each other is not the same as saying we can like nail down an objective definition.
No, I know, and that's
Sorry,
what's
that's what
that's
words are. That I mean, I don't know what you would never argue this in the case of gender. Like you always have argued against people saying, well, anything can be a gender as long as one person
No,
thinks it's a gender.
because gender is different. Because gender is referring to a concept where there's a fact of the matter about gender. It's not like a. Okay, what? Wait, do you think that's a point?
Wait. So there's a fact. There are facts of the matter about any kind of art. The fact is how many people agree with it.
No, there's a difference. Gender is hopefully, ideally, gender is our attempt to describe something that maps onto reality. Art is not something that maps onto reality. That is a completely ontologically unique category that humans have created. Art doesn't exist
All
in
these
nature.
things are about perception, right? I mean, sandwich. What is a sandwich? What is a chair? Wait, is there a fact of the matter to what a chair is?
well, it's not like a
chair
philosophical thing, though.
No,
It's not like a whole thing.
A chair would be similar to art, right?
Okay, is there a fact of the matter to what a human being is?
The category of human being, I guess, would be there, but like hopefully there's a difference between
Wait, is there?
describing. You're in
Is
debate
there a
mode. You're
fact
not
of the
listening.
matter?
I'm good. Talk to Rich Pop. I can't. If you're just gonna be in debate mode, like you're not, because
I'm not
there's
debate
clearly
mode.
there's clearly the difference. If you can't see it, then the conversation is either beyond you or you're too debate brain right now to hear what I'm saying.
Wait.
Let me finish. There's a huge difference between saying there's a tree and then going like, well, tree, what is a tree? Versus this is art, right? These are two totally different things. Do you see that those are two different things, or do you think it's all the same?
I think those are all categories. Language itself is.
Okay.
Wait, hang on a second.
No, that's
you
fine.
agree with this?
I can't do this.
Wait. You can. You actually can. You will.
I can't.
You actually can. And what's more, you will.
My brain is. I can't. I'm too.
Wait, you can. I mean, what is language if not?
Pisco, come on.
We're not talking about language. We're talking about these things. If humans were to disappear, okay? If humans were to disappear,
no more art.
Trees, the things that are trees, like would still be there, but the whole idea of art is gone. Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Wait. So the concept, the category of tree exists without people. I mean, categories in language is just our way of looking at things and looking at patterns, right? I mean, if there is no one to think about the categories and to deal with them, I mean, what is the category?
Good question. Ask where's Rage Pope?
I'm actually surprised that we got stuck on this facet of the topic for too long. My second part of the topic was going to be, is current AI art ethically made, which is
the ethical parts are all boring because all of it follows from this conversation. The challenging conversation is the only thing that matters. Once you figure out that part, everything else like falls in very, very, very easily. It's like abortion. Like figuring out abortion is pretty easy if you figure out if like the fetus is a human being or if it's just like a clump of cells, right? The challenging part is that part of the conversation.
Pisco, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you think a concept can be art?
Okay. A category itself being art.
Like for example, like the Milky Way galaxy. I don't think we actually have like a picture of it. We might have from like some satellite, but like that general idea of something so vast and has beauty in its like structure, but we can't picture it exactly. Do you think that's art as well?
Idea of concepts being art, then I think that makes it really, really broad also, and then it starts to lose meaning there again. It dilutes it a lot.
I think names can be
Can you
art.
define art for me?
And titles can be art. Me?
Something like what we were talking about earlier, something made with intent and with conscious choices by a human, where they control kind of their preferences, experiences are all displayed in the end result.
Okay, so when I create an AI, I have intent to create a machine or a tool that will assist me in taking my thoughts, my words, my drawing inputs, and creating an output. It is a conscious choice for me to put together specific words, phrases, or even
No, but this gets into
my
the same
AI.
thing is, what's the difference between you typing that in Google image search? Why is it different? Why is the result you get from that, why does that make it art when Google image search isn't art? Because you're doing the same thing to
Google
both,
image search
basically.
is literally just an index of pictures that are already out there.
But in terms
and
of the effort that you're putting in as an artist,
what do you mean? It takes hundreds of millions of dollars to collect
You
all
didn't
the
put that
pictures
in.
that I need to
You
train
didn't
it
do
on.
that, though.
Wait. Are
Somebody
you
did.
talking about the amount of money?
Yeah, somebody did, but not you.
Well, because
about the
she's
money.
talking about effort. That is
Wait.
effort.
Effort
It
has
is
never been a
No,
part.
no, no, no.
I don't think effort should be a part of our.
well,
Yeah.
she said it was. So
No,
I think
I think you're sticking on something small amidst the broader things, which I said, which is like
well, so there's
intent.
intentionality, right?
Yeah.
So I am meaning to create this AI, correct?
yes.
Yeah.
So
I think
this
with
is
that,
But also, how is it different from you going to Google image search and being like typing in what you want to see there? That's like literally.
So Google image
not.
search, what it
Huh?
does, it's an index of things that
I
already
know you.
exist.
Yes, I
So
know
when
you said this already. But from an artist perspective, from your like input into the end result, how is it different? How are you
because
influencing
you're
it
gonna get
differently?
so one, you get the exact same thing out every time. Every time you use the AI tool, you will not get the same thing back out. The
But
second
that's
thing
not
is
that's not due to
just
wait.
you.
entirely.
Photocopiers make
So
art.
hold
You
on.
agree. Wait, why does novelty?
The thing that comes out of the photocopier is art. So the picture that you
Yeah.
see
So
on
this
the
is art.
screen.
So the Google search is art.
So there's a difference between what I would consider art and what you can consider art. Because if we're just going to do that, literally everything can be
No,
art, and you have
you're
death of
not
the artist.
explaining
But
what's different about it. You're agreeing that a
Yeah.
copy.
no, I'm not.
No,
I'm saying that you're literally seeing copies of everything else. And so if you're saying, am I making original art by going to Google and typing in
No one's
tree?
talking about
The answer
original
is no.
art. No, wait.
Well,
You
I'm talking.
keep playing this shell game.
Wait,
No
no,
one's
I'm
talking
not.
about original art. We're talking
She's saying
about
it's
what
not art
is
at all.
art. Yeah, so that's
Sure.
what
Okay.
I'm
So then,
assuming
by
that's
the
what
same
you're
definition,
talking
the
about.
AI is. She's saying it isn't. You're saying that because I'm saying Google art isn't art, then the
You're-
AI that has the same output isn't art either.
Well, let's be clear what we're not talking about. You guys are arguing about what is art, and so you like originality should not be popping its head here if we're all agreeing that like you making a copy of a piece of art is
Okay.
making
Yeah. So
art.
so if we ignore the Google image thing, so we have intent.
Why?
We have
Because that's the
No,
part that you don't like.
Well, I think that that's
down
important
definition
because
and whether
it's
or not you get
literally.
originality out is irrelevant. And then you're saying that, oh, because I say it's not art, well, then the AI isn't art. When it doesn't
don't you
follow,
just
when I'm
say- I
using
mean-
her definition, when you're putting your own definition on top of what.
No, I've already said that like if you do in painting or something like that, where you're having an active like part, more of an active part in the process than just like
So
describing
I just want to go
something,
back
I
to your
think.
definition.
Yeah.
So we have intent. We have a conscious
Uh-huh.
choice of putting things in, and then the previous experiences of the program and the human who made it are on display. That meets all definitions for what you consider art.
And so does the Google search. So I don't know why you're.
Yeah.
Sure, yes, it does. And so it doesn't matter because it meets her definition, not my definition.
Oh, well, I'm asking you your definition because you seem to think that I.
So I
probably
think there
agree-
has to
no,
be.
no, I just want to be clear. I probably agree with you that a lot of AI art is probably art, but you also agree with that, and so I want to know under what metric the Google search is not art under your definition.
So under my definition, it's not sufficiently unique. If I was to go copy 30 seconds of song, if I was to copy like 30 seconds of song from like 10 different songs and put it together, I wouldn't consider that art. That's not sufficiently
now you
unique
have
and original.
problems. Now you have problems because if
Why?
I make a copy, a literal copy on a flash drive of a song, are you going to say that that copied version, this is a new version on a new piece of, it exists in physical space on this drive? Is that art or not?
So the song itself would be art, but you didn't create it by the act of copying.
Yeah, I did. Wait. I created the art by copying it. That's art. Isn't it art?
So this is
Wait,
it's
is
the
that
ship
art?
is
Yes or no?
Transposing
mean,
data isn't art in and of itself.
No, the thing,
the thing that you've created is art, but but what you've
the
done isn't.
novelty and originality are not part of your definition of art.
No, that's not part of her definition of art. It's
I'm
part of
asking
my
about yours.
definition. I
I'm
said it
asking
had
about
to be sufficiently. So
I'm
I
asking
think
for
art.
is originality and novelty part of your definition of
Yes, I would say that it needs to be sufficiently unique from things that have already been created, and it has to be enjoyable
art? Ask
to.
again, is that copied version of the song art?
No, I don't think.
So there's only one copy of everything, and that's the only thing that's art. Like only the one master tape of that song is art. The rest of them are not art.
It's art in the same way, but it's the same
I think
piece
here,
of
wait,
art.
hold on. Let me figure this. Let me navigate this one. This might be a tricky reference thing. The art here's a question. Oh my god, I just brain blasted my way through this because of the two
Alright,
paragraphs I read on
let's hear
Language.
it.
Are you ready?
Yeah, go for
If I'm listening to a song on my computer, okay, and it's a Nickelback song, and you're listening to the same Nickelback song on your computer, are we listening to the same song, or are we listening to two different pieces of art?
I think okay. I think you are listening to the same song.
Yep. So then when you ask, are you creating new art when you make a copy of
I didn't
something?
say new art. Are you creating art?
Okay, but well, are you creating a song when you copy a song? It seems like there's probably something a little bit different going on there, because even if you copied a song and you made a different a different like copy of the song, if somebody else listened to it, they'd still say it's the same song, right? I don't know if things that are references of other things are like creating
they're
art,
like
which would also solve the
there are
issue that we
covers of
have with
songs and things like
which would
that.
also solve the issue that we have with the Google search engine thing. Because when we search for something on Google, we're not creating something new. They're just references to other already existing things.
So
I
I
knew
think
the
another
Google
thing.
search was not fucking art, but I couldn't explain it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
I don't think it helps them. I think it creates a
yeah,
whole.
no. So here's
No,
another thing that I would say. I would say that originality isn't needed necessarily for art, but any work that's originally created or any original creative work would be an act or would create art.
So okay. So then here are the problems that might create. So on the one hand, now we're saying that me photocopying a bunch of paintings or whatever images, those are all art pieces, correct? And we are creating art, but they're just references to art.
Well, so then we would probably say a reference probably isn't art.
But why?
Well, it is art, but it's not art because of the creative process. It's art because there's something that's already sufficiently creative to be considered art that you can distribute.
Well, like I don't
when I
understand
download
why
a song on my computer, I'm not creating a new song. I'm just
you
creating
guys
a
are all
reference.
tripping because listen, none of this matters. This creation process for your definition it's meaningless. I don't know why Steven and Destiny is like you're even having this conversation about what art is because you already think it's meaningless, and so you shouldn't even be talking.
I don't. You're the ones that are having this conversation about us. But I was trying to sort through the complicatedness of or figuring out why Rage Pope is trying to say that the Google image search wouldn't count as art, but like a new creation by an AI might count as art, because it seems like on a superficial level you're putting in an input and you are getting out pictures, right? You can do it with Google image search or you can do it with an AI thing. So what's the meaningful difference?
Okay, so then all I have to do to break that entire hypothetical, is say, okay, then program for Google searches trivially alters the 1 millionth search thing and changes the order of it very slightly to make it effectively mathematically unique every time you do it.
But it's not. It has to be
no, but that's not a human. That's not the artist doing that.
If you start making that sufficiently complicated, now you've recreated AI art. If you're starting to talk about that,
I don't think
every
that's
time
the
you
way to
create
do
an
it.
image search, it's going to actually start to
but it
alter
doesn't
the
feel
data.
like. The
I
problem
think
is
like
Rachel
what
doesn't want to say because it doesn't feel like art to him.
if somebody enters the exact same prompt as you do, what makes it measurably unique to you? What makes the output measurably unique to like your artistic eye and experience?
Create the same song on Ableton using the same samples.
I doubt it would be exactly the same. I think there would be subtle differences.
No, well, hold on. No, there's no difference. If you're using the same samples, so you're using the same preset little sound fonts, and then you both type in a really basic piece for a music theory class, you could very easily have two people create the exact same thing. And sonically, it will be the exact same. By waveform, it'll be the exact same. Everything will be the exact same. But are they both creating art or no?
I guess I don't know enough about music to really qualify that, but I would imagine that there would be some differences in how, when they play it or something, that would make it unique to them. But it would be like a cover. I mean, there's words for that.
Did you say it would be like a cover?
No, it would just be exactly the same thing. No. You put two people in a room. They both come up with the exact same song. They both make unique works of art.
Yeah, of course. In your definition, I don't understand why we wouldn't.
It would be the same work of art.
I just think it would be infinitely difficult to have two people create the exact same thing in most cases.
Yeah, but
I think that there's going to be subtle differences.
That's going to be true for AI art as well, right? Because different databases, even altering a few images, could theoretically spit out completely different things, right?
But yeah, that's not what the intervention or intention of the artist, though, is the thing.
Well, but hold on, but now you're not saying anything about the intervention artist. Before you were just saying it was unique.
Oh, sorry.
If you want to say something about intervention, that's a totally different thing. But the whole point of when you're talking about machine learning code, this is incomprehensible to humans. Nobody goes through and debugs it's all a bunch of jarbled shit.
It's all bullshit. You guys talking about originality. You guys said a fleck of dust could be art, and so I don't know why we're even talking about originality and novelty when you guys are any piece of dust on my desk could be art. And now you guys are talking about originality.
It could be art, but it's not. The thing is, it's not is art.
Okay, hold on, stop. The reason why people are saying the speck of dust could be art is because it seems like what could be art. We're talking about the other side of the equation. You've got the intention of the artist, but it seems like the observation of an observer could also make something art. when we talk about the speck of dust, like a random speck of dust probably isn't going to be art. But if I show you like a random speck of dust in a museum and you're like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, this is the last ash pulled out of Auschwitz of like a dead Jewish child. Well, now it feels a lot different. What? Because it's art? Did the Nazis intend to create art? No. Did the Jewish person want to be disintegrated and made it art? No. It's because of the observation, because the person looking at it has a certain meaning or a way that they feel about it. But that's completely divorced from the intention of the person created it. So could a random speck of dust be art?
But who gives them that observation? How do they learn that observation? Like,
I think everyone here already agreed that there has to be some room for unintended things to be art, and that has to do with the observer. But
wait, did we all agree on that?
I agreed with that from the start.
If everybody agrees with that, then that means that AI art can be art, because as long as somebody observes it,
I think
and they feel like it's art,
I think
then...
AI art can be art, but
well, what the
you
fuck
guys
are
are talking about.
Why are you arguing?
No. You guys are talking about originality, and that art is literally a meaningless term. And if art is literally a meaningless term, then this entire discussion has been absolutely incoherent.
Art feels meaningless, like a meaningless term, because in the broadest sense, like art could be defined as like either something that was created to make somebody feel some way, or something that's perceived as something that's perceived by a perceiver that makes them feel a way. But like what you've defined there at that point is essentially every observable thing by mankind. That's why it's kind of like a meaningless definition. Anything can be perceived. Constellations in the sky that people have made, like drawn through, like, is that art? Because they're fucking stars. They're like balls of fucking hydrogen. Nobody had an intention behind that.
Isn't this the point though?
That was the God point. That was the when people say
it's not
that,
a God point. I'm just saying that if anything can be perceived as art, it seems kind of pointless to like have a strict definition of it.
But I think that it's the whole same thing with aesthetics, where we can't really nail down, like with like clinical textbook rules, everything about what contributes to something looking beautiful. Like beauty is subjective, so there's always going to be differences of opinion. But largely, we can like make broad kind of judgments on things that most people will agree with to a certain degree.
Most people would say that AI art is art. If I went to a corporation and I said, here are 20 logos, choose the one that you like, and all of them came from an AI and they chose it and used it to represent their business, then that's art.
And that's a good argument. Wait, that's a good argument for AI being art. But you don't pretend that anything can be art just because one person.
No, I didn't say one person. I would say a few people would have to see it that way.
I think they're art in the same way that like a photocopy is art, though it's not something new generated from.
Wait, how is it not something new? It's the first time that thing's been put together, or anything even reasonably close to it has been put together. How is that not art?
That's fair. This is tricky. I just don't think that I think it requires more human intervention than AI currently does, because I don't see the meaningful difference between two people entering the same prompt, and even though they're getting different results, it's not because a human made those results different. And I feel like the human intent in choosing those, otherwise it's just like an image randomizer. It's just like the cloud filter in Photoshop.
Why does
creating random pixels.
Choosing for you though, right? Like why does the human factor have to be involved for something to be art? That seems to be
because
what you keep on insinuating.
Yeah, I think intent. Yeah, I think intent is part of what makes it art. I think filtering it through. But what is the meaningful difference between when you and another person enter the exact same prompt, even if you have both the same intent with the prompt? How is it going to take your individual experiences and put that in the output? It's not going to, is the thing.
So if I have the same monitor as you, we're going to get the same output whenever we play the same video. It's just going to show on the monitor the exact same. But if I go create another AI, I'm creating a slightly different monitor. Might be a little bigger, might be a little bit smaller. When we put the same inputs in, the different outputs are going to come out. So if you go to the same AI tool, and you put the exact same prompt in and the exact same random number seed, sure, you can get the same thing out. But there's an infinite number of AI tools that you can create that are trained slightly differently that will give you different outputs, even if you're using the exact same seed,
that's not necessarily because that's not because of the artist intervening. That different outputs are not because of the artist, though.
Yes,
or the person writing the prompt.
Intervening is the selection of the training set, the amount of training that he's doing, the data that he's putting in, the weights that he's assigning. Yeah. The artist is doing it when he's creating that weight. As soon as that AI is put together.
If you train your own art database, I feel like maybe I would have to think on that. I don't have a fully formed opinion on that, but I feel like that feels different than somebody just rolling up to a pre-made thing and typing something in that somebody else could type that exact same thing in. If you train,
but this goes back to the director comments and implementing things that are already.
And I feel like,
But do you have to make your own camera? Do you have to make your own camera to be an artist if you're to be a photographer?
No, because you have much more control over you have much more of a hand in the end result than what you do with AI. And I feel like
what do you mean? You just press a button.
Wait, how do you know that?
Yeah, because you're choosing the angle, the focus, you're choosing the lighting, you're zooming in.
If I do everything,
you're not choosing all those things.
Just go take the photo.
You're making selections and intentional choices.
Yeah, but you would do that with the prompt, right? You would make the selection based off of like, okay, I want this sort of image. I'm going to use this as the prompt, right? That's the same thing as setting up a
But
camera,
what makes it?
choosing
But
the
what
angle,
makes it?
choosing your
Yes,
lighting.
I can see that. But what makes it different? How do you get the person's artistic experience when you're not putting any input in beyond words and somebody else can put in the exact same words? It's not going to filter the art the same way that any other
Somebody
kind of
else
art
can
does.
come and set
Like
up
I
the camera
said,
the same way
doing
and press
in
the button in
painting.
the same way and set up the lighting in the same way, right? It doesn't just because somebody else could do it doesn't mean that it's not art.
I think it's totally different with that. I think that's much more like you're much more involved in that process, and I think your intent is much more clear
No,
than
but
something
Pisco's not at
generating it
all. So
randomly
I
for
set up
you.
this camera. I spend like 12 hours getting this thing together, and then I have you, Pisco, and Destiny, and any of you can press the button when I tell you to press the button at the same time, and you're gonna get the same image out. And you have had no input to
Yeah,
that
but that's
process, but because you're pressing the button, you're now the artist.
What do you mean you're now the artist?
So whoever presses the button to take that
So here's
picture
the,
is now
like
the artist in that
the
picture.
question that
I
Rage
don't-
Pop is asking
I
essentially,
kinda
like
disagree with
when you
that.
talk about photography,
Yeah.
right? The photograph itself actually isn't art because that's just pushing a button. The art was
Right.
the inputs that
Was the
went
choices.
into it. Because
Yeah,
like
I guess. Yeah.
theoretically, yeah, if I put all the work into setting up the perfect shot and then you came by and then you push the button, like, are you
Yeah.
really the artist? But
Yeah.
then in that case,
Yeah,
you're
I
not,
would- I
even
would
though you're
debate,
creating
like-
the same piece of art. We're like, yeah, it seems like something else is happening.
Yeah.
But then you still created art.
Or did you?
In the same way that you making a copy is creating art, or
Yeah.
really
No,
what we
it's
think
not.
is what we think is the person who created the art was the person who had all the intention behind it, all the thought process.
No, I don't know why
the
you guys keep
director of the
focusing on
shot.
intentionality as if it matters,
What else do you
right?
focus on?
Because intentionality has nothing to like. There was a
What else do
very
you focus
I forget
Wait,
the
wait, wait, wait.
artist name,
Yes.
but there's an instance of a
It doesn't have to be like
photographer.
super meaningful intent, but I think any
Well-
intent to like create and display something, if I'm
But
even if
it's
the
not a
intent is just like,
prerequisite.
I'm
You
just
don't
gonna
need
splash this
intent.
on
Like
here.
so
Mm.
you could dig up old photos from a photographer that literally went through the
Yeah.
city and like had a disposable camera and just like took random photos of the city, right? They didn't
Yeah,
have
that's intent.
any sort of like yeah, but they didn't have an artistic intent,
Not to
right?
the
That is an
the
artistic
photograph,
intent.
but to
If
the
they
process.
decided to take
Okay,
random
sure,
pictures
but
of the city, that is their artistic
okay,
intent.
well, what if they
What if it went off
what if they
accidentally?
go to take out the camera from their pocket and they accidentally took a photo, right?
Yeah.
And then what if you analyze that
That's
photo
cool
and then oh
too.
my god, this is art. This looks beautiful, right?
That's
And
the
what if everybody else
experiencer
agrees?
case. No, that's the experiencer case.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the artist's intention literally doesn't matter. It's
Where,
all
no,
on the
it doesn't mean
observer's
sorry,
end.
just because
I think it can be both.
something is not the only way to do something, create art,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that like therefore doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
but I think
It
the
can be a
worry that you get
sufficient
there,
condition to make art.
the
That all
worry,
you need is one person's artistic intent to have art.
yeah, but the worry you get there then is that if an observer can decide something is art and an intender can decide something is art, then essentially everything that
We
humans
all
observe
are
can be art.
agreed on that. Wait, you must be
What
agreed
you
on
need,
that.
you
if
just need
think
more
it's
than one.
I do
nebulous.
agree, but I'm telling you that at that point you've got to the thing that upset you before, which is you've almost created like a definition where anything can be art.
Wait,
basically.
I
here's
think
one. Is
anything
Graveyard?
can be art, but you need an experiencer. I think we have to agree that like experience and consciousness
Yeah,
is
art without
required for
observation
art.
isn't art, right? Something needs to be observed for it to be art.
In which case,
No,
it's not literally meaningless. It means that if all sentient creatures were gone, there would be no art. That's some start.
Okay,
and
if
now
all
we're
sentient
narrowing
creatures
I
it
don't
disappear
think
further.
so.
though, wait, would there still be a tree in my backyard?
The
Are we art
category of
realists?
tree,
Are trees
there would be a
sentient?
thing there, but the category of tree, I
Okay, but
think
there
that
would be
you
the
are
thing there.
stupid to.
Okay,
The thing would
gotcha.
be there, but the category I think would be rendered useless or and nonsense. Like it would be nonsense. What does the category mean without someone
So,
to have it?
so I have a performance art question. So there was like the lady who went and said for like 6 hours stood there and said you can do anything to me that you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based.
So all
Sorry.
the people that came and did stuff to her, were they artists or were they creating art by interacting with her?
You can have joint
It was
authors.
collaborative art. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so then
works of
why is an AI not collaborative art?
it can be.
What is no, I'm
If you're
not asking you.
collaborating
I'm
with
asking
another
her.
human,
She's saying is
you can't collaborate with a tool.
no, but you are. You're collaborating with a human who made that tool for you to use.
No,
No,
you-
you're
you're
not.
losing the
No.
definition at that point.
That's like
What
you're
about a
saying
camera? Aren't you
collaborating with the
collaborating
person.
with a tool to make a picture with a camera and as opposed to painting something?
I don't think so. I think you're using a tool. I don't think it's collaborating. I think that's entirely different. I think there's no intent on the basis of the tool. There's difference
Collaboration
when,
means you're implying some sort of artistic input from a third party,
yes,
some,
from both
some
sides.
other
Yeah.
party, and that doesn't
Yeah.
exist
And
by just using a tool. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Wait, Pep, did you say you said you didn't think the Google image thing was art?
I think that if you broaden your definition of art to include that, then it kind of does become kind of too diluted to be useful.
Wait,
Okay,
come on.
wait,
Wait,
did
what do
you
you
say
mean?
that?
Are.
Wait, hold on. Did you
That
think
fits your
you said
definition?
that collaging is art, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Collages?
Same thing.
Okay, is a
No.
Pinterest board art?
The one your mom made is.
Got him.
You have to say yes. If a collage is art, then
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
yeah. So Google image
I mean, they're
search, the only-
curators the same way. This is like the same thing as the DJ conversation, a little bit, you know? They're still using their intent, their tastes to curate something. And yeah.
It can be true of AI just like it can be true of a Google search, or it can be true of me walking to
Well,
pick
then-
up coffee.
So then again, what's the difference between like the AI Google or sorry, the Google algorithm spitting out images and the AI tool spitting out images? Why
It's
is
literally not. You're the one who's trying to come up with a distinction there. The only thing that matters is
I'm not.
the
It's
Yeah,
just,
that's why I'm,
personality.
yeah.
so
You
then
I'm
were
saying
the
it's
one
not
that's
that
been
AI
different.
art is art.
hypothetical for the last like 20 minutes.
Well, because you keep saying no, and then she keeps saying that AI art is an art.
No.
And then
I'm
she-
saying that if you broaden the definition to include things like Google image search, then you dilute the definition of art to like the
Okay,
point
but
where it's
I'm
kind of
saying that
meaningless,
you don't
and I
have to
don't
because you have
want
originality.
to. What do you mean? No.
This is why I think that like outside of this conversation, and I think this is why people have been content to generally leave this topic alone. Outside of this like AI versus human things, nobody really asks the question of like, is this art or is this music? Like you can do it in a very esoteric or like I'm a very like whatever philosophical sense, but generally we all just kind of accept that like almost anything can be art.
I think that
we don't
this
draw
is one of-
boundaries around it in real life.
Yeah, this is one of those instances where the answer is very not satisfying, so everybody wants to debate it constantly to get a satisfying answer, and you're never going to get it, right? I think that
Here's
the
your
best
satisfying
definition,
answer.
no, the best definition of what is art is, unironically, like you know it when you see it, right?
No, I disagree with that. Hold on. I think that
Yeah.
thinking of art as a label is a mistake. I think you have to think of art as a type of language, like a fluid language that conveys concepts.
So
It's not. Sorry, go ahead. British
Like, what
Poe.
do you mean by that, though? Like, expand on that.
Like when we communicate to each other, right? We're not using the words, or I mean, we're using words. We're using tools to try to communicate inner thoughts that we have in our head, right, to another person. And the art does the same thing, right? It tries to convey something. It doesn't have to be intentional, but it's conveying something through some sort of medium to someone else.
yes, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like the rules of it are really fluid, and we've discovered this throughout art. So thinking of it as a
Very
label doesn't make
subjective, yeah.
sense.
I
Yeah.
guess.
You have to think about it as a language.
Sure. I think that anytime in history anybody's ever asked the question of what is art, almost every single time somebody's doing that, they're
They're
trying
getting
to
hung up on
exclude
that, like,
something that they usually don't like.
I mean, when people say that, is this art?
Mhm.
They can mean one of two things. One is the kind of like, I don't know, existential question or the category question we're asking now, or is this good?
Yeah, that's
No,
essentially what people are usually getting at. Most of the
I
time,
don't
people are
like that is this good framing because there's so much subjectivity into what's good art wise.
Well, that's the
Sure,
problem.
there
Is
can
that
be,
when
but
most
exactly,
people
but
ask,
that's when it's invoked, right?
yeah, when most people ask that question, what is art? What you're really asking is, does this make me feel something, right?
Or do I
Well,
like it, or is it profound?
I don't know.
That's
There's
people are kind of getting at, or they're
I
asking this
guess.
more broader question, which is, what does the category of art even mean? And it is broad, but it's not without its limits. And I don't think it's purely subjective because I don't think art, just like any other word in the human language, is used by people to communicate ideas. It's an English word that and
well, but does it?
I mean, art is a word. It's a word, right?
Yeah, but like, if I say something to you, like, "Oh, this is art," like, I guess that's a question. When I say this is art, what am I communicating there?
I
I
think
think you're. I think the only good answer to this is when you're trying to say something is art, you're saying this is something you have to interpret in a different language, and that's the art language.
Well, no,
that
but like,
we-
let's say a little bit more grounded because that's very vague. Let's say that I ask like 10 people what is art, and I get them to draw. They don't have to give me like an exact definition, but even like a tree of like related concepts or whatever. If I ask somebody what is art, I feel like I'm going to get enough words that are almost going to encompass all of human existence, right? Like some
Well,
people
one of
might
the
write
fir-
down what?
One of the first ones would be like experience.
Yeah, it might
Or
be
like
experience, it
creativity.
might be feeling, somebody might say sound, somebody might say painting, somebody might say image, somebody might say sense data as a human, somebody might say interpretation. Like, we're going to get so many words, it's going to encompass almost everything in the observable universe and everything that we experience subjectively as humans, right?
But there has to be some excluding principle. Something you need to be able to say like when I communicate art, humans will understand that this is not art, right? When you talk, that is our experience day to day, where people don't walk around and say anything is art all the time. Whenever you're
But don't
talking to
they?
people.
Isn't that
So
exactly the
wait,
types
wait,
of?
wait.
No.
Some
Okay,
people
so
do, but that's the
let me
thing.
give you an
That's what I
example.
mean. That's what I was saying
Your
earlier.
daily
How
Let me
like
give
we
you a
can
specific
largely
example.
broadly agree to things, even if it is subjective.
Yeah,
Because
so
I
let me
feel like
give
what
you
you
a,
say there is, I feel like people exactly have done that for a long time, and that's always been the
so
debate, right?
Yeah.
so here I can give you a specific example of this. Is before the guy made the post, if I was just to say gravy gnome, it meant absolutely nothing. It was meaningless. It wasn't art at all. But now that someone made the post and added everything surrounding it to it, now there's an entire community where gravy gnome is now a meme.
Yeah.
It's a joke. Everything else, now that it's art, because everybody sees it as art, even though gravy gnome is actually retarded.
It signifies
Because
that
we've
something has
assigned
happened.
value to it, because we've added value to it, it's now art.
Yeah, it signified that transformation happened. That the word has
But was
now.
there any process?
There is a process. There literally was a process. People got together and agreed, or someone made that first whatever. I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever
It's
that
not
thing
necessarily
is.
replicable, right? You can't necessarily replicate that process, though, right? It's not like a defined etched in stone process. It's
No,
just it's a phenomenon that happens.
It's not an incoherent phenomena where you don't see what's going on in the minds of people. What's happening in the minds of people are either one, someone is intending to put something into existence to share or not share, or just to for it to be in existence, some modicum of intentionality, or enough people are talking to each other and experiencing it and experiencing something that they perceive to be art, and that is it. Because otherwise, I mean, it's not occurring for a whole lot of different phenomena and stuff, and we have to be able, as language speakers, to distinguish it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that like you keep appealing to this
So-
language speaker, like having a definition of art is like vital to our navigation through the world. Like for things like water or for things like food, like I would agree, but for things like art, like it just it feels like
I don't want to have
people.
to do this with sandwich, dude. Like we
So-
can
I'm not
do
saying
this with
saying
sandwich.
hold on, stop. I'm just saying that anytime this is invoked, it's literally to argue over what it is, right? Look at things like death grips, like, oh, is this music? Is this kind of real music? Or for painting, for Jason Pollock, for the Pollock paintings, is this even art? Is this even a painting? Like, whenever people are bringing up that concept, it's never for clarification. It's almost always used as an argumentative tool to like subjectively attack something. Like, when was the last time you heard somebody invoke this question, invoke the concept of art when it wasn't to attack subjectively their aesthetic appreciation or lack thereof of something else?
I think almost always when people say, "Is this even art?" They're saying, "Do I like it? Is it evocative?" And they're not asking the broader category question.
Yeah, but that
you
shows
happen to
then
be
that your appeal to saying that like, well, it's important that it means something. You're giving me an example right now. It doesn't. It's literally used to say something else.
a word can have multiple meanings, and one of the meanings of the way that will be invoked is something. Art is equivalent to good or profound or something that invokes emotion. When we all agree that there can be art that is totally boring, that invokes no emotion in 100% of humans that encounter it, even though it was intended to, even though everyone recognizes it as art, that these are just two different ways that we use the word. No, but right now, you guys happen to be having a conversation about the category question and what even is art. And on that question, I think you need to be able to communicate with other human beings. And the truth is, when we're asking what art is, you're asking whether there is some intentionality in its creation, I think, right? Or whether some group of people are experiencing it. And anything more specific than that, I agree, is too narrow. But
Sure, and
anything broader
I
than
agree with
that
what
is
you
meaningless.
just said, but I mean that what you just gave is if that's not if
It's
that
not
doesn't encompass
everything.
the entire observable universe, it's like right up to the edge of encompassing it. Because you just said it's like whatever somebody could perceive as something.
No. Whatever someone does perceive, whatever people do perceive, not could. So when you peed this
Okay,
morning,
well, if
did
you
you pee this
invoke
morning?
anything, what?
Did you pee this morning?
Sure.
Do you perceive your pee as art?
Personally, no.
Did you intend for it to be art?
Personally, no.
So I think we all agree that your pee this morning wasn't art.
I disagree.
Wait, is
I
that
think it
true
is
though?
art. If you think from an artistic lens, you can make it art. And
Yeah, I
that's
think
why
that's
I
the
think it's a
issue.
language.
Do you actually
Like a person that only speaks Mandarin, if they see the Spanish word agua, like that doesn't mean anything to them. But if they switch to a Spanish speaking perspective, it suddenly means something. I think the art works the same way.
Can you? Sorry. Say that another way. Would you mind?
So I think that art functions as a language. So I think that like you can view some things. It's a really weird language because it can interpret anything. So like if you only spoke Mandarin, where the characters are nothing like the romanticized languages, you can't when you see Spanish words, you can't conceptualize them. But when you switch to a Spanish lens, when you learn Spanish, those things suddenly gain meaning. And I think you do the same thing with art. I think once you turn your artistic lens on, you turn on your artistic language, you can start interpreting things in a very fluid way. And that's
you
what
saying
makes
it's all about communication and in a mode of language is making it more narrow than anyone else has today. What you're saying is that art is a kind of way to communicate ideas and to communicate, because language is a method of communication. And so what you're saying is art is even more narrow. Art is the language of communicating concepts and feelings. And that implies that intentionality, right?
No,
Part
because
of communication.
He's not implying intentionality. He's implying relationship that could be invoked at any point in time. That the language creates a relationship between observer and thing that's being observed, right?
Or even just concepts, right? Like, so if you take somebody like what's that Cage guys? He has a piece where he he has a piece.
Cage.
Yes, Johnny Cage. He has a piece where he literally plucks cactuses that he's hooked up to like electricity, and that's how it generates sound. And it sounds like shit. Anybody listening to that is probably gonna walk away saying like, yeah, that's probably not music, right? But I think Sejin's onto something in that you can analyze something through an artistic lens and say, all right, using these characteristics or like using like these concepts, I can analyze this as art because it meets a certain criteria, right? I can listen to it and be like, okay, these frequencies are somewhat musical in some senses, right? The rhythm in which he plucks it is somewhat rhythmical. It has some sense of musicality to it, right?
As according to whom? As according to either the person who made it or the people who hear it.
The people who hear it, because they're the ones using that turn on the lens.
Wait, so
is that
subjectivity is the only thing that matters? So someone who intends to make art, but no one else thinks it.
No, the observation of something. That person is the person that gets to decide if that is art or not to them. They don't get to decide it for anybody else.
No. The mistake there is labeling anything as art in the first place. Anything can be art when you're looking at it through an artistic lens.
Yes,
No, if it's
exactly. You can analyze anything as art.
If you have an intent and a creative process, I think that's enough to make art, even if no one else thinks it's art.
If no one,
but then if you create something through an artistic lens, then you're also receiving it through an artistic lens.
Wait.
Yes, yeah, no. So if
I just want to make sure I heard that. If no sentient,
no one
creature,
else,
no one thinks something is art, it can be art.
Yes.
No. If nothing observes it,
it could be yes.
No, it is. The intent and the creative process is there.
I would argue it wouldn't even matter.
The person who created it, right?
This is like quantum art.
Doesn't think it's art. No one who observes it thinks it's art. Is there any?
No. He thinks it's art because the intent is to create art, but then everyone else looks at it and says, "No, that
sorry.
isn't
Then
art."
I'm asking a slightly different question, which is, if it's the case that the person who created something didn't intend for it to be art, and no one else perceives it as art, could that thing be art?
Yes.
No.
Because I'd say yes because I don't think there can exist something that cannot be art.
Damn.
Okay, well, art is useless, and this is a
yes. Regardless of whether or not the
art is not
person
useless.
Who creates...
Art is a language we can use to.
But you said it can literally be anything,
concepts.
even if nobody thinks it is.
Think about
how is that not
useless? Give me
useless?
any sort of example, right? If you look at it through an artistic lens, you can find something to a concept to wrestle with internally.
But you can't because you said no one does.
No one doesn't
doesn't mean you
on
can't
the lens.
or couldn't.
Wait, Sejin, are you just saying that like not everything is art, but anything could potentially be art?
I'm saying everything has an artistic value, whether or not you see it or not.
Artistic value.
Yeah, it could. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say.
But that value is totally dependent
I
on
wouldn't go there, but
people's minds, right? And
well, yeah, but you would have to lay out like your okay. So this is a big thing with art critique, right? Art critique means nothing in a vacuum, obviously, right? In order for a critique of art to mean something, you have to lay out your criteria or your reasoning for why you're critiquing something.
Wait. Hold on, wait. Just real quick, be very careful when we talk about art critique.
we are usually talking about evaluating oftentimes like objective measures of like a piece of art, or it could be a subjective.
It could be
enjoyment.
this.
But
Yeah,
let
it
me
could
finish.
be. Yeah.
It's an objective measure of piece of art. So like how many instruments are used, or it could be the subjective enjoyment of that piece, but it is very rarely, if ever, the evaluation of is it art. Very rarely is a subjective critique trying to figure out, is this music, or is this a movie, or is this art? That's never the question.
Right, but I'm saying in the same way that you would lay out your reasoning for justifying your critique, you would then, lay out your reasoning for why you think something is art or why you perceive something to be art.
And say everyone disagrees with you. And they're like, no,
It doesn't matter.
I mean,
you don't need a consensus for something to be felt as or viewed as art.
Hang on, like you are the only person who thinks that this thing is art. It's an old shoe. And everyone's like, I don't know what you're doing. You're just looking at an old shoe. That's not art. And no one agrees with you. You think that in the human language, as we use the term art, notwithstanding the fact that in this own person's subjective, idiosyncratic opinion, it's art. But notwithstanding that, you think that is art as we understand it as a humanity.
Yes.
Because one.
Well, I think the shoe is made with intentionality in a creative process in order to form a certain image in
None of
people's
that's
minds.
required.
You guys would never
None
say
of
this
that
of
matters.
any. You guys would never say this of any other word. And I know Steven's gonna get, but let me finish it before I'm gonna have to go in a bit. If I were to say everyone's definition of like sandwich is a certain thing, certain kinds of things within bounds, and someone's like, well, I think that shoe's a sandwich. You would never say like, well,
the shoe's not edible.
subjectively it is a sandwich to him. He perceives it to be a sandwich, and so who are we to say that that's not a sandwich?
Because I'm taking art, the word art, the concept art, and I'm elevating it to the same level of language, right?
You're just playing category
Yeah,
games
the
where you can just
prob-
define
yeah.
a category to be anything and redefine it in a way that it doesn't have any social meaning anymore, but it does have private meaning to you, which is just playing retarded word
Yeah,
games.
what we're talking about is private language and proprietary language.
No. The problem with your analogy is that you're taking like a noun that is set to describe a certain thing that we all understand what that thing is, and then you're taking a concept like art and of trying to apply it in a way that's analogous.
Well,
because
no.
it's
So
not.
the difference is he's talking about the concept of a sandwich versus the concept of art, and what you're saying is true, but the difference is that like the concept of sandwich is vital, whereas the concept of art is like almost nebulous on purpose. Right?
Exactly.
Like what is a sandwich is important because we need to know what we can eat or not. What is art is not really that important because it's actually almost completely irrelevant to our subjective enjoyment of any particular piece of art. So I think there's a difference in
I think the same thing could be true of like, I don't know, loud, right? Loud. Think about loud. What does loud mean? Loud means, we could all have a subjective understanding of loud, true, but is the sound of like a little piece of fluff landing on the ground, would we ever say, well, it's loud, even though all of us are in agreement, like 99% of us, except for those with super Spider-Man hearing, agree that it's not loud? Would we ever say that that's a loud sound?
Nope.
Yeah, I think it's the same kind of thing with all these categories.
No, that's way different because loud tends to describe like an actual sensory feeling, right? Like pain, right? Like I would say loud is like a type of sensation, and that's gonna be one of the few things that we.
How about we do beautiful? Beauty is very often in the eye of the beholder, right? Everyone says that, and everyone agrees that there's a private, personal, subjective concept of beautiful. But are you going to tell me that there's not like that we can't agree on some things that are more sort of universally understood to be beautiful? And when we communicate,
that's what I was saying earlier. How like there's no hard and fast rules, but a lot of people can largely agree on broad kind of definitions of beauty.
Yes, I mean the same thing with healthy. If something is healthy or not. Would anyone think that like someone who's about to die in a minute, is that healthy?
Well, it depends on why they're going to die.
Well, they because they have punctured lungs, they have cancer, they have everything. They have everything bad about them. Is that person healthy?
No, but if they're totally fine and healthy otherwise, and in 1 minute I'm going to put a bullet through their head, well, then I would say yes, they're healthy, even though they're going to die in a minute.
I'm at peace. I'm healthy because I value. 1 minute to me is like 100,000 years, and I really think that this isn't really.
So again, he's assigning his own private definition of healthy, and as opposed to our public definition of healthy. But no,
but the difference is that art is broadly agreed. Like we've all kind of agreed on like. there typically isn't much challenge to the category of healthy. There is so much challenge, even within art, to what is art.
Bro, you just had a million billion debates about
Don't bring up the Nazi shit. Are you really going to compare these two
Wait,
things?
no. The vaccine and people's relative risk of like myocarditis and the risk that they put to
Bro,
different things and like,
this
what
is
they perceive
no,
to
no,
be
no, no, no.
healthy.
Hold on. To make this conversation equivalent, it would have to be people saying, "Oh, I think eating shit could make you healthy," or "Oh, maybe cutting off your arm could make
Hey,
you
no,
healthy," or "Oh,
that's
having cancer." No, no.
perfect.
We broadly agree 97%. Actually, even with the anti-vaxxers, we agree on what healthy is. They just disagree on the fact that no matter what the vaccine does. If they agree that the vaccine like prevented you from getting diseases, they
That's
say, "Oh,
all
that's healthy."
okay. That's
That's
all
not a
I'm.
that's not a
That's
discussion
the
on
only
what is
consensus I'm
healthy.
appealing to. That there are some things that there are so little people calling that thing art, and there was no intention behind its creation that we would feel comfortable saying, just like we would say that that's not healthy, despite your private language.
Yeah, but
That
as
we would
I
be like,
and
that's
again,
not
not to
art.
like
Come on,
not
no
to
one thinks it's
appeal
art.
the,
No one.
How do you
hold
distinguish
on, wait,
an
wait.
AI
I will,
created
hold on,
image?
I will. This is the only time I can ever invoke my fucking education because it never comes up ever. But as somebody that's gone through fucking art school, or at least 3 years of it, I would never challenge anybody on it ever because it always leads to autistic conversations like this. Anytime anybody ever in a fucking art school were to say like, I feel like that's a piece of art, nobody, except for maybe a freshman, would be like, I don't think that's art, because they know they're about to get dogpiled by 50 million upperclassmen who are like, oh, really? Or some pretentious grad student. Oh, you don't think that's art? Oh, well, what do you think is art? The saxophone world is Kenny G art? Oh, do you think this? Like, everybody's gonna smooth jazz art? Like, everybody's gonna talk. And then at the end of that conversation of getting gangbanged, you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, fuck. I'm never gonna say that's
No, but
not
what
art
about your
again because
toe
I'm never gonna be
fungus?
able to.
What about your toe fungus?
We're gonna say all the same shit. The ash of the person that was in Auschwitz, is that art? Like, I don't know. Is
No. But that one, might be. But the toe fungus, where you don't intentionally create it, and no one perceives it. There's no world in which you say that's art, right? Unless you are perceiving it
What
to be that
about
way.
the flashes of people in Hiroshima? Is that art?
What about NFTs?
Wait, Pisco, I have a question. So
Yeah.
why okay, so would you say that the problem with the definition of art that we're trying to put forward is too nebulous, therefore useless? Like, is that your general
It's
argument?
useless because it's because everything is art, right?
Okay, so
It
No,
can't be
the
the case that
difference.
everything is art.
let's assume that we agree on a
Well,
definition of
Rage
art.
hold on. The argument isn't everything is art. It's everything could be art,
No,
right?
on that we're agreed, right? Because as long as there are sufficient minds for us to, for there to be creativity or intentionality about creation, or people to experience things, I think I would say that anything could conceivably be art, but not everything is art.
yeah. So it
Sure.
seems like
So
with that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go.
well, I was gonna say, so is your problem the like the subjectivity of the definition of art in and of itself? Like, are you trying to find an objective way to define art?
No. I'm trying to say that that our words need to mean things, and to mean things, they need to exclude certain categories of things. And I'm not
Sure.
telling you to draw the line precisely, but at the very least, we should agree on the kinds of things that we look to when we're deciding if things, to
Well, I
most
would
humans,
say.
most
So
of
then,
the
how do you
time, as language.
distinguish AI art from actual
Wait,
art?
shut up, Rachel. Before we even start talking about AI, we need to talk about the definition of art and what Pisco's problem is with it, right? So the thing is that so fuck, you said what was the very last thing that you said?
I said that at the very least, we should agree on the kinds of things that we're looking to see if
Oh, yeah, you were
humanity
trying.
would see this as art.
Yeah, you were trying to say that if we put forth the definition, it has to necessarily exclude other things, otherwise it becomes useless and too nebulous, right?
Yes, there needs to be ways to which to distinguish this is art, this is not art. Just
Okay,
like
so
we should be
would
able to
you say
distinguish
that the
things as
definition that we conventionally use or understand as art right now, do you think that that is too nebulous or meaningless?
no. I think it's fine. I think most people, live their day to day life experience with, and their art definition is fine, and we appeal. I think that they're using the term art to mean specific things, and they're referencing creation and experience. Those are the things that they seem to be referencing. And so I think
Well,
that perfectly maps on. But if it's purely
mhm.
subjective, in which case, like any speck of dust that one person thinks is art makes it art, then now it's too loose for me. I think that's too subjective. And
Well,
no,
I
and
think that
humans don't talk that way.
the art community, or just people that engage in art, generally speaking, I'm going to make a broad claim here, but most people operate with this definition of, yeah, art is subjective. You kind of just know it when you see it, and most people don't operate with this like trying to qualify what is art with specific qualities or things that you experience or whatever, right? And that's the thing, is that like you're trying to play this word game and say like, okay, well, if it can mean anything, or it doesn't exclude anything, then it's nebulous. But like this definition of art, like the way that we use the word art has meaning, and it has like functionality as we use it right now, and
Okay,
and it is nebulous the way that we use it, even within that,
I
you
agree it's
know.
broad, but I don't think it's nebulous. So maybe I'll approximate and try to see if I'm understanding correctly what your guys' definition is, which is anything is art that at least one person thinks is art. Is that the definition of art?
No, you need to stop using it as a label.
Stop. I'm asking Mind Waves,
Mind Waves. Yeah,
Destiny,
no,
and Rage Bro. Is your definition of art anything that one conscious human
No.
mind thinks is art?
No.
It could be, but no.
Is it a sufficient condition for something to be
No.
art that any one mind perceive it to be art?
No.
Okay, then that seems totally at odds with what you guys have been saying for the past.
No, it has not at all.
Well,
I said there has to be.
I can perceive a chair as a tree. It doesn't make it that thing, right? Like, so like whether or not somebody
I agree.
could perceive something as something is kind of like besides the point if we're trying to define what is something.
Yeah, so if any one person does perceive an object as art, it is art.
No.
So that's what I'm arguing against.
No, yeah, no, I think the distinction is just that anything could be perceived as art if you perceive it that way.
Yeah, so I'm saying that it's not enough for me to be like, okay, that's art just because one human mind perceives it to be art or affirms
Well,
it to be
yeah,
art.
but then we go back to, yeah, it's subjective. I can think it's art because I'm perceiving it in a different way, right? But you are going to maybe perceive it in a different way,
But
and
that's
you're
private language, right? That's private language.
yeah, and that's how yeah, like what's the problem with that though?
But I think there's a lot of problems with private language because we're trying to get to mutual understandings, and I
No,
think
the
that
only area that it's a problem is in when you start taking these very niche, obscure, outside, like we're on the edges of like what is art, or like the category of art, right? Like for 99.9999% of things, we can categorize of like the word art has meaning when we're trying to look at something or use it in that context, right?
Okay,
What you're doing is because, oh well, we can't define this one thing that is very niche and abstract, and therefore the word's meaningless. It's like, well,
Destiny's gonna say no. Destiny's gonna say no.
Wow.
Do you is there a definition for art that you think is a good definition for art?
there is no good definition for art. No. That's why I said you know it when you see it. That's like the best way that you could possibly describe.
Who knows it when it sees it?
The observer, any observer, you,
then
me, anybody.
Wouldn't it be so then it would be correct then that if any person sees something and knows it to be art, it is art.
To them, subjectively.
Well,
not objectively.
Wait, Pisco, do you think that something could be art, but you also think it's bad art?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait,
Happy you
little
disagree?
Tojo, how do you feel about this?
I can't believe I'm still here.
Okay, we're just curious.
Yeah, no, this is retarded. This is so fucking retarded.
Whoa, hey,
Based. Actually based.
I'm so sorry. I totally forgot we're not supposed to say that.
No, you can say
Remedial.
it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
Remedial
mute
art.
remedial.
This is remedial art class.
Isn't that actually even worse? Destiny, you said remedial is actually worse than retarded. I said it again. I'm sorry.
Wait, Steven, before I leave, I have to leave now.
Yeah, what's
I just want to get your opinion. Do you think the definition for art, would you agree with the definition that said anything that any one person perceives as art is art?
It seems, yeah, it would have to be.
All right. Good talk, guys. This was a really fascinating conversation.
This was
I know
not.
there-
No, this was not good. No.
Oh, I had fun. I know everyone else got frustrated, but
Wait,
let's go
Pisco,
from-
before you go, you think that's
yeah.
an insane metric? Like, if I like,
Yeah, I
so
do.
my kid draws something, they scribble something. I'm a parent. I'm like, oh, okay, I think this is art. You would say like no or what?
No. I think that there's a carve out for the creator. if someone is intending to put something into existence, regardless of what everyone else thinks, I think that when people talk, they're either referencing that act of creation, that modicum of intentionality, which would be totally, I don't know, inclusive of a child drawing something, or they're referencing the experiential side, where it wouldn't be enough for me for one person to think it, but it would on the creativity side, because I think that's how people talk.
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly what
I feel like when you use the word art, we're invoking a whole family of concepts, and we're leaving the door open for the other person to even add to it. I think that's like the challenge, is that art is not already, it's not only is it already incredibly broad, but we're almost inviting another person by even saying the word art to adding to it at the same time. So that's why I think it's hard. If somebody, like, again, it's the dream of like every art student when you're in a debate with somebody to be able to say, well, that's not even art. Like, everybody wants to be able to say that, and everybody's had an argument at some point if they've gone to any type of art school where they want to argue like anime's not art, or this isn't art, or blah blah. But like, you can't do it because people will start to endlessly challenge you on a definition, and you can never solidify anything.
Yeah, art is also very like culturally rooted as well, right? Like what we understand as being art, it depends on like where you're at like in time and place as well. Like for a long time, music created using like digital means wasn't considered music, right? But like after a while, it's normalized and seen as more of a tool, and then now we all recognize it to be music, right?
Well, look at the fighting right now that's going on with animators. Is CG anime? Does that even count? A lot of
Right.
people don't like CG
This
anime.
I think it's a little bit of a, I don't know, equivocation of terms, because I think what they're getting at is the other question. It's the question of, is it good? Is it worthwhile? Is it, you know, does it evoke the same thing? Is it the same quality? Which is not the category question, which I think
Maybe
might be what people are getting at. And then there are other, I guess, subsidiary questions, which I think are more interesting, are the, should we protect AI art, or should we fight it? Which maybe you guys would have talked about if I hadn't bogged it down.
Okay.
Bye, Pisco.
Later,
Bye,
guys.
Pisco.
Love you, buddy.
Bye, Pisco.
All right,
Steven, do you
so
not like my definition?
Not particularly. I don't think it's bad. I just
I want to try to push you on this. Can you describe
Well, hold on,
something
wait.
that's
Before we do this, because Pep actually organized a chat with me. And she
sorry.
got fucking brigaded by a million other people. Sorry.
Oh, I was just drawing, so I was listening. I was listening to the chaos. I feel like nobody kind of agrees with my point of there's not actually enough. There's not a like enough of a distinguishable difference in terms of having an artist's like intent put into the AI art with the current setup. I don't think anybody agrees with me on that, and I think that's kind of my sticking point about like why this is so different from every other kind of art, and being like, I don't think, like, if there's no measurable difference between what one person can enter, and if two people enter the exact same thing, beyond that entry of the words, there's going to be nothing that influences the outcome of the art. None of their preferences, none of their skill, nothing like that. And I feel like people don't agree with me on that.
So then, is Banksy art? Do you consider Banksy art?
Yeah, why?
Okay, well, do you know that it's actually a person doing it, or is it a robot doing it behind the scenes and then being put out wherever?
If it's a robot doing it behind the scenes, either a human is controlling it to do that, or this is getting back into
No,
like
it's
the
an
weird...
AI. We have a super advanced AI made by DARPA. It's sitting in a lab. How do you know that that's not the case?
Is it sentient?
No, it's not sentient. It's just a DARPA thing that because it
who-
knows what it's
before
going to
this-
evoke things in humans.
Yeah, real quick before this ventures off into this.
Yeah, this seems like it's gonna
72-hour
get back into
debate.
chaos, yeah.
It's going right back to where you guys were before.
Yeah.
My feeling of things, this is how I felt about this, and nothing has budged me from this yet, is I feel like as we develop more and more sophisticated artificial intelligences that are more generalized and less specific, I think that what I feel is happening for humans is our minds are not as unique as we want them to be, and that we like our minds are unique in terms of what exists on this planet right now, but in that uniqueness, we feel that not only are they currently unique, they could never be duplicated. No amount of machinery could ever duplicate it. And over time, we've seen machines make big strides in replacing humans in a lot of areas. They do math faster than us. They can sometimes solve problems in creative ways that we can't. They've assisted us even in things like art. But there's one thing that a human brain can do that machines can never do, and that's inspiration and innovation and creativity. These have been traditionally considered the domain of human, and art and no amount of machine shit can ever touch it, because that's a unique special thing that is like a priori granted to us as humans. But the problems that we're starting to see are that maybe that creative process that we feel like is the amalgamation of some special unquantifiable human experience that exists, that's a greater sum of all of the abstract is greater than all the sum of our parts, is something that we can't quantify, is being quantified now in incredibly complicated and highly sophisticated machine learning programs. And when we see that happen, we don't want to believe that that can happen. So we start to arbitrarily increase the complexity and the threshold for what it means to be art and all of this, because we want to feel like we're holding on to something that still makes us unique and human. That's
Some
the
people
feeling
might be
that I
doing
get.
that, but that is not at all my intent here. I feel like what makes humans like artistic in particular is pretty quantifiable, and
So what is that?
some is mysterious. The things that I've been saying, the preferences and traits and skills you develop over time.
Yeah, but even
AI
at
has
that, like I
preferences
could,
and
I could
traits
wait. Hold
and
on, I
skills.
just want to run this down real quick without 50 million interruptions. Okay. So when you talk about experiences, right? All of that can be programmed, right? Have you seen the movie Blade Runner 2049? Okay, there's like a guy that walks around. He looks and talks and acts like a human or whatever, but he's not sure if he's a human because he doesn't have like memories. He doesn't know if he ever existed as a human, and he was made into a robot or something like that, basically, right? But the question is like, well, what makes him human? What is human? Do
Yeah.
memories make you human? Do subjective experience? Because subjective like feelings, those can be programmed. You can control like input and monitor for, you know, temperature, for vision, for sounds. Like these things are all data.
But we're
points
not
that can
there
be-
yet.
Well, but that's kind of the question, right? Because the question is
No, we're
are
absolutely, the AI generators are not. They don't have
you can
feelings currently.
say that and you can laugh, but the reality is even artists, even fucking AI people, well, maybe not super into AI people, but everybody is shocked because the level of art that is coming out from AI generators today, I know this, everybody thought that this was impossible 10 years ago. If you would have shown people that you could input some crazy random string of text and you could get out a novel piece of artwork drawn in a stylistic sense that seems like inspired and human, everybody 10 years ago would have said, that's impossible. That will never happen. And now we're there. So to say that like, oh,
We're
no, it's a totally
there,
different process.
but we're not there yet to the like having it be the same as a human experiencing and creating art. It's not. It does not.
Well, for purposes of like a Turing test, you wouldn't know, right? I could show you different pieces of art and you'd have no idea if it's AI inspired or not. You could proxy it with like the finger thing or whatnot, but if I'm giving you like pictures of scenery, whatever, it would be flawlessly past the Turing test of art, right?
I guess so if you want to put it that way. But then again, so does a photocopy.
Well, no, the thing is that you were going to say, well, you're basically making the argument that, well, the AI art isn't compelling enough, right? But the thing is, it obviously is. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Otherwise, artists wouldn't feel threatened or like be upset about this subject, right? AI art has reached a point where it's compelling enough to pass as art. And that's why this is a discussion.
Yeah, I can say that it's compelling enough to pass as art. I think the reason for this discussion, like what interests me about it is what makes it art and what makes it like why human art. None of this would be able to be created in the first place without human art. But really, what fascinates me about all this is that like, sorry. What?
I'm sorry, because you keep saying these statements that are that apply to humans too. You keep saying none of this can be created without human art. None of the art that exists today as humans can be created without prior human art. Nothing can be, right? So so a lot of the statements and critiques you're making of AI are equally created by, are equally critiquable by humans. The music we have
but
today
AI,
doesn't exist
because of how AI functions, it's not human. It doesn't learn in the same way humans do.
I guess that's.
So I don't think it
that's the
applies.
part that we disagree with, because I feel like the learning process is almost identical.
It is not at all.
But what is the difference? Because all you're going to do is your answer to this, and try to answer it in a way that's different. Because it feels like every time I push you on answer this, what you're going to give me an answer of is, well, it's different because, and then you're going to say humans have a broader data set. But
humans have a broader data set, and it's filtered through that. It's not just one. It's not just a one-to-one input. So
AIs are not one-to-one input output. Maybe like 5 years ago.
No. But it's inputting art and that's it. It's inputting art and photos, and then like the dude said earlier, you can weight things certain ways. I know that like DALL-E, or I think it's DALL-E, who was trying to weight things to be more what's the word? Inclusive, things like that.
Everything you're saying, humans do. We weight things different ways. All of we're going by is the inputs of things that we've seen. You can't ask a person that's never seen a tree before to draw a tree. They can't do it. They need a series of inputs as well.
But the outcome that they're going to generate is going to be different based on who they are and their experiences.
Yeah, which is the same thing as the data sets for an AI thing.
If you're talking about different data sets and people training the AI themselves, I would probably have a different argument.
But the only difference then between the AI and the people is there are more people than AIs. Like if I made 5 million different iterations of AIs that all trained off of different training data sets, would you all of a sudden be okay with it?
I would call you an artist in that case if you were training them, if you were creating them, if you were structuring, if you were making those choices. It's the intent on your part there. Whereas it's not the intent on people like just using it. Just random users don't have any input in that way.
I don't know if I believe that 100%. You're saying that if a person created a data training set that included copyright works and all the things that are currently triggering artists.
I would say it's unethical, but I would say that it's their intention in choosing that is more present than when people just use Midjourney or DALL-E.
Well, when you say that it's unethical, would it be unethical for a human to practice off of like copyright material?
No, because humans learn different from AI.
How, in what meaningful way?
Because everything you learn is filtered through like your preferences. When I learned how to draw bodies, I liked learning to draw women because I think women are prettier. All these things are going to be individual and distinct to a person.
Yeah, but all of these preferences could be programmed to a machine. Like I want.
Are they?
They could be. Well, yeah.
But they aren't right now.
Wait, so if I give a preference to a machine to have a preference for white people and softer figures, is all of this okay now for you because I gave it a couple of preferences?
No, because it's not unless you're the person also doing the prompts. I don't feel like it's. I want the artist's experience and what their preferences are and their artistic vision to be actually evidenced in the end result.
Where did your preferences for women come from?
What do you mean?
Well, you're saying the AI's preferences came from another human, therefore it's like invalid. But I'm curious, like where did your preferences for drawing women come from?
What do you mean? I think it's invalid for one person to. I think it's like the thing before that we were talking about collaboration wise, how collaboration implies active participation, and one person designing something and another person using it isn't the same as collaboration.
Okay. Don't think that answered my question, but that's okay.
Oh, it didn't, but I just had an issue with you saying that I didn't think that a human choosing it, I that doesn't disallow it. It just means that I only think it's should be considered for the person that made it, not just a random prompter. Sorry, restate your question again though. What was the question?
All I was trying to get at is that your argument was that like your art is special because you have a preference for women. And I was curious, like, where do you think that preference came from? Do you think it came from like does it matter what
life experiences? I'm bi, I don't know, like just all the random things.
It came from a training set, the data set, right? Which is your experience of your life,
Yeah, exactly. Which current AI models don't have.
Okay, well, I think that's Destiny's argument is that like their training set is other data, which is like their.
They don't have all that.
So
they just have the art pieces.
I think that the AI do have these preferences. Like the AI that exists today is incredibly sophisticated. It's not just copy pasting parts of it.
This is the same thing with statistics though. No, the only reason it has preferences is because of how humans generate things. It can show a preference for like big titty anime girls in certain sectors because people generate a lot of big titty anime girls, but that's not the machine having a preference. That's people having a preference.
Yeah, but now we get into weird deterministic things where like, do people have preferences or do the parents have preferences they give to them, right? But I don't know. Hold on, I'll be right back.
So gonna go to this is where I was trying to lead to is like, yeah, where do preferences come from, and like that whole deterministic thing that you're about to go on, yeah. Like I believe, like unironically, I believe in destiny, kind of, because like I believe, like we don't make decisions. Like I don't believe in free will.
I think the point you're trying to make, and maybe I'm wrong, is that like you're trying to point towards the fact that it doesn't really matter where these preferences come from, right? It is that like that that Pep over here is trying to be super discriminatory about like what preferences matter when it comes to AI art. But like you yourself as a human probably don't even know where your artistic preferences come from, right? Like this isn't something that we don't like look at human art, like or art created by humans with the same sort of discriminatory lens.
Yeah, like to me, at the end of the day, it's just ones and zeros, and like that might sound like a meme, but I kind of truly fucking believe that. Um, yeah, like it's just math. All at the end of the day, human preferences, robot preferences, it doesn't matter.
You know what, I kind of almost agree with this. I feel like life is like a series of logic puzzles where like input A ends up resulting in like output B, things like that. But I feel like that actually contributes to my point more, I
So,
guess.
so I have a question for you, Pep. I guess two questions. So one, say I had a tool, I could stick this on your head, and it could read your thoughts, and then there'd be like a robot in the other room that would make whatever piece of art that you had, right? So if you wanted to make a sculpture, it would go to the marble block and cut it out. If you wanted to paint, it had all the oils available. Is that art?
Yeah, because it's taking the visualizations from your brain, right? That's what your brain is coming up with.
Okay, sure. So, but then now, what if we have a generator, right? That can generate all of these images that you've created, and it's already created that thing that you've created. Is that
So then I'm not
has
the one
that
that
made
created
art
it,
before
meaning
you?
it's no, I don't think so. I think that that's what's different is like human
So
preferences,
if you
human
have the
input. This
exact
is
same
such like
outcome,
a.
so if you have the
I don't
exact
think you
same
would have the
outcome,
exact same
one
outcome as the thing.
no. I'm saying it actually has because we have an infinite number of rooms, and it's
Okay.
put every single possible output. That's possible.
I mean, this is the whole like monkeys writing Shakespeare thing, though, right?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Pep,
So
is your issue with it that like AI art is devaluing the experience of artists, like true artists, in your mind?
No, I just think it's the issue I have with it. The actual issue I have with it is I think that most current AI models are unethical because they took art like they're all
wait,
trained on a training database that was made for research, and so they didn't filter out like art that is copyright that people didn't want to be
you
have put in that. And I feel like that's the problem I have with it. But the technology itself, I don't actually have that much of a problem with. I think it's cool. I just don't think I don't think it makes people an artist the same way if I downloaded a bunch of cheats and speedran a game. I don't think it would make me a speedrunner. You know?
well, but it
Like,
is. There's a tool-assisted speedrunner category.
yeah, I guess, but then it would be defined as that. I can say AI. I'm happy with calling it AI art, but I'm not calling it the same thing as like
Okay,
traditional
so
art.
then
You
I
know?
guess my next question is, how do you discriminate AI art from regular art? If I showed you 30 pictures, do you think you could tell me which ones came from AI and which ones came from
It's
people?
kind of there's like that's like the difference between digital and traditional art. Some people make digital art that looks exactly like watercolors.
You're treating
Does it
it
really
as two
matter?
different categories when in
Yeah.
actuality AI art would be a subcategory of art.
Well, it would just be the same
Yeah.
thing. It'd be indistinguishable. If I was to create a water painting,
I
a
don't think it should
watercolor
be
painting robot,
indistinguishable as a thing, I guess.
yeah. So what I'm saying is, if it's indistinguishable, if you can't tell the difference, well, then why does it matter at all and not call it art?
Because I think people want a lot of like protections assigned to it. Like there were people who were
So
I think this is a fringe case. I think this is a super fringe case. There were people who were like complaining about people stealing their prompts, and they were like trying to like say they had copyright rights to prompts and stuff. And I feel like that's
So
wild to
I
me.
don't, I
But I
I
don't
don't think
think
it's
that's the
copyright
norm.
infringement to create
Yeah.
derivative works off
Yeah.
of other copyright images. It's not.
Yeah.
As long as it's sufficiently distinct, you can use other things as references, the same way that AI does when it trains. It's not copyright infringement to use a copyrighted
So
image in your training model set. So it
So
would
actually,
be
there's been like they're debating this right now whether that only applies to human generated works or AI generated works, and I think I agree with the human generated works part because again, the intent, the selection, choosing which things are combined, choosing the differences, I think is important. I think that is a
well,
distinction.
but the AI is choosing the differences and choosing how to
Yeah, and I don't think
do
that
things. So
I don't think
so
that's
I think that
showing.
you're getting
I think that's just taking. That's a more like copying version than what a
wait, how
human
is it
artist would do.
copying? What are when the AI trains
Because
on your image, what is it creating?
it's
Like what
making.
is
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so like what exactly is the AI doing? So it takes your image and then it does
Yeah.
what with it? Does it just store
It
your
learns
image
that
forever?
No. What do you mean destroy the image forever?
No. Stores your image forever.
Oh, no, from what I understand, no. It just learns things like when words are like this, images usually look like this, and these things appear next to each other, or these pixels look like this, and so on and so
So
forth.
okay, so is that how unique would you say that is from your image? Like if I use your image to I don't know, predict whether something is a line or not, is that sufficiently unique from your image?
I'm sorry. A line? Like, what do you mean? I mean, they're the
Oh,
opposite
I
thing.
take
There's
your
params
image.
that define. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say,
I
yeah.
guess
So
I'm
I
just not
take your
understanding.
image. I mark like 50 things that are lines on your image, right?
Okay.
And now my AI predicts whether or not something is a line. Is that a sufficiently differentiated outcome than your image?
That's
Then
not an
or
outcome.
you,
That's just it learning, though, and that's different from how humans learn.
sure, but the case for copyright is whether or not something is sufficiently differentiated from whatever the
Yeah,
original is.
and I feel like copyright law isn't really designed for this. We've never had anything like this. So just because something is
But
happening on like a super granular and large scale in an automated process, I don't think that makes it right.
okay, so then you're saying that you're undergoing copyright infringement, but not under any definition that we have, and that even though you're creating a
So yeah,
significantly differentiated product,
you're not
that you
creating
just
it.
feel
An
like it
AI
shouldn't
is
be.
creating it.
Yes, the AI. Well, no, a human is telling the AI what to use to create something. So a human is
But
involved
it
in that
doesn't actually
process.
influence the end result nearly as much
Yes,
as
it
like
does.
no, not the only way you're influencing the end result is with the initial prompt. Nothing else.
No,
If
no,
two
no, no,
people
no,
enter
no.
these,
When you're
wait,
creating the AI from the beginning,
Oh, yeah, if you're, like I said before, if you like design and curate your own AI training data, I would be much more inclined to call that art. I think there's a lot of intentionality and decision
well, no,
behind
no,
that.
this isn't art.
Most
This
people
is
aren't doing
copyright
that.
infringement. So when I am training my AI using copyrighted images,
Yeah.
you said that that was a violation of the copyright holder's intellectual property.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like most AI made by the current generators is unethical because of that reason.
Okay, well, I'm asking you now, what specific part of that process is violating a copyright? Because what you're creating
Because a
is
company is
just rules.
automating
Those
it
are
and
unique and
charging
derived
money
rules.
for it. Whereas when a person makes those choices for themselves and trains something themselves, I feel like there's a lot more intentionality there. I feel like it's a
So
little bit more
charging money for
nebulous in
something?
terms of I think it's a little bit more nebulous in terms of whether it's bad or unethical or copyright infringement, but I think there would be a lot more room to argue that it's not because a human is intervening and making all those selections and curating and things like that.
Okay, so we're not even in the creation of the art out of it process. We're in the I have your images and now I'm going to
Yeah.
create the AI process.
Okay, so
So
people having like access to images, I mean, people can collect images for private use, but if you like hosted an event and displayed them on a screen, you could get in trouble
Okay.
like for, and that would,
do
then
you
you would,
think
you're
do you
supposed
think
to
an
pay for rights for
AI
that.
is displaying your image on a screen for other people in the same way that pirating a video is displaying it for other people?
I feel like there are parallels there.
So what is the parallel?
The parallel is that somebody's art was taken to create something without their consent, and it wouldn't be able to create the things it's creating without that initial art that wasn't
Okay,
given with
so
consent.
on the second half, yes, we can have just artificially generated shapes and images, and then we can just train the AI on that. It's just more expensive. You can get to the exact same AI output if you just use a generative neural or adversarial neural network. So you can do that. You can get the
Something like
exact same
that.
network, but what?
I haven't seen anybody. Are you saying that you could
So
create the
the problem
exact
is that
same
that's
art the
expensive. So
current?
what you do is you take one neural network and it just outputs things, right? Just random things. And then you have a discriminator network that says, yes, this does look like a tree. No, this doesn't look like a tree. And so on and so forth until that first network is outputting some form of art that would be used in the training set for your second stage of the network, which would then say, this is my
Doesn't know
AI
what looks like a
generated
tree
art.
and what doesn't, though. What's training the other thing?
It can be anything. You can have humans just like clicking, this is a tree, this is nothing, this is a blob, this is whatever. You can just have that done through like Mechanical Turk. You can train it. You can train it using other AIs, which try to do predictions of what's a trees or not. And so that's the first part. So you can
Oh
get to the
shit,
same
hang on, my
outcome. The
headphone is
second thing
dying. I have to
is
switch my
that
headphone. One moment, sorry.
okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So the second step would be whether or not it's fair use. So they are using your copyright images to create something. And part of fair use is whether or not something is sufficiently differentiated. So what you're doing with the network is you're making a classifier, which basically says, here are the rules of what I can do from inputs to get to outputs. So the derivative that you're creating is the classifier network. Do you think the Dewey Decimal System is violating the copyright holders of books?
No, but
Okay.
But the Dewey Decimal System. Okay, never mind. We're not at the generative process yet. Sorry.
Yeah. So the Dewey Decimal System, right? It basically says that how can I discriminate between these types of books into smaller and smaller subcategories into a point such that I can get a sufficiently small, whatever, categorization for all the books in existence, right?
Probably.
So what is the difference between that and creating the AI, the weights?
I think discussing the difference between like sorting and categorizing versus the ability to then generate things is different. I think you do need to consider the end result.
Wait, but you're just sorting and categorizing images. That's all the training step does.
Okay, the training step is fine, but if they're when it comes to generating more stuff, that's where the problem lies, I feel like.
Okay, but so then now if you have something that's, if I was to put
Well, actually, wait, let me think.
50,000 images out to a jury, and I was to say which ones are human generated and which ones are AI generated, one, they
Well, this
wouldn't
is
be
the
able
same
to
things we were
tell.
talking about earlier with the like digital art versus traditional art, like watercolor and watercolor. They can both look the
Okay.
same, but the distinguishing that it doesn't matter whether they can't be distinguished. One is digital and one is traditional, and if people wanted
Okay,
to
no,
categorize
but what
things
I'm
by
saying
that,
is
then
that, so say if I have a watercolor painting AI and it does
yeah,
the same watercolor paintings, I can put two watercolor paintings in front of the jury and they're never going to be able to tell the difference. There's
okay,
no meaningful difference, right?
okay, sure.
So then if you cannot tell the difference between anything derived by a human and anything derived from a robot, why is that infringing on somebody's copyright?
Just because if you
if
buy
you can't even,
stolen goods, just because you don't know
but
it's
it's not
stolen doesn't
stolen
mean it's
goods.
not bad. It wouldn't if it wasn't able to be generated without the initial input of works that weren't like given.
So
I do think it's partially stolen. I do think it's
so
if it's impossible to do that.
so when Walmart and Publix they go and they make knockoff products, is that stealing?
Actually, there's like a huge that's the reason why there's gray and black market products in the fashion industry.
I have no idea what that is. But
Okay,
but I'm
it's
saying,
basically yes, people copying designs is bad and they get punished for it legally.
okay, but if they're sufficiently different,
Yeah,
right? If I was to just copy your design exactly one for one, there'd be a problem. But if I make
yeah,
changes to it, there is a sufficient level of changes that can happen that makes it
but
totally
that's
fine.
humans making those changes with intent.
Okay, but
AI is just taking things from other things and jamming them together. It's
and they're
not.
making something unique with intent.
There's
the
no
intent,
intent there though. No,
wait, why is there not intent? I'm intending
the
to make
AI
a
is not.
tool.
It has no intent. And I already
Yeah,
said
the AI
if
doesn't have
you
an,
design
the
if
person creating the
wait,
AI.
hold up. This keeps coming up, and I need to make this distinction. If people were designing and training their own AI, I would be much more okay with calling the end results art because there's a lot of intentionality and choice there. But Midjourney and DALL-E are not that.
But they are.
No,
So
they're no. The people using those to generate art are not curating the training libraries. They are not changing the weights in the program to establish different values for their preferences. They're just entering text
if I
the
have an
same way they would in Google
Etch-a-Sketch,
image search.
if I
So
have an Etch-a-Sketch and I
yeah.
draw something on the Etch-a-Sketch, am I not an artist?
What do you mean? Why would that not make you an artist?
Well, because the tool already has the capability and the functionality to create every single possible image on that Etch-a-Sketch that was made by the
But you're
Etch-a-Sketch company.
literally controlling it to do the things that it does. With the AI
Well,
thing,
are they
like I
not
already said,
controlling
in
AI?
painting, no, they're not. I said if in
Well, they're
painting, if
choosing
people
a
do in
seed and
painting,
they're choosing
no.
a set of
No.
weights.
But if there's no measurable difference other than randomization in terms of the output between one person putting in that prompt and another person putting in that prompt, there's no distinction of like their preferences or their artistic vision beyond that. The machine does everything else, and machines do not have
Well,
like
because
artistic intent or vision or anything.
the machine has already pre-created all of these art by the guy's training methodology, and you can only view the art by explicitly calling in the right functions into it. It's the same thing as drawing on the Etch-a-Sketch. Whoever created the Etch-a-Sketch has
This is
created the possibility for you to draw every
Son.
single thing possible on the Etch-a-Sketch. You just
But
have
then
to
no, but you have a
rotate
much
the buttons
more
in the right way.
no. But there's actually a ton more input in the Etch-a-Sketch. Like I said, if people did input in painting, like paintings using AI doing in painting and stuff, I feel like those are art. I think that's impressive. But just like
So
go ahead.
I would say every single part of that machine learning model is like basically an output of the person who created it, right? So anything that comes out
The
and
person
is
who created
displayed
the
by that
model?
machine, what?
The person who created the the person who created the person who created like DALL-E or Midjourney?
Yeah. So well, it's a team of people that created
Yeah,
DALL-E,
I
but
know
yes.
exactly. That's
So
why I was saying
everything into
person.
weights, everything into those weights, everything into that is weights.
Yeah.
And then when you go to it, you can use not an infinite, but a very large number of combinations of words and phrases
Yeah.
and seeds to get a very large number of outcomes.
But again,
The
the
art is
designers
already
chose those
created.
weights. The artist didn't choose those weights. So
No,
it
no,
doesn't
no.
have
The
the artistic
artist,
input
no,
of
no.
the same
The artist is
artist.
the person who trained that network. And so whenever you're
Okay,
interacting
then
with
anybody
that
using
machine
DALL-E and
learning
Midjourney
model,
are not artists.
what? Sorry.
Then any users are not artists. It's only the creators.
Yes, correct. But what's coming out is art, and the creators are artists. So you're both creating art,
Wait, no.
and
Okay.
you already have an artist who's created it.
I don't think so, because I think that the creators created a tool, and then people are using it. I think
So
that
then,
I think, like I said before, if people train their own, if somebody
wait.
made their
You don't
own
have to do
training
this for a
library,
camera.
what?
You don't have to do this for a camera. If I
What
take
do
a
you mean?
camera and I take a picture, that's art. The same way
Yeah,
that,
because a person
you know,
chose and had a lot of intent and settings and lens and camera and everything like that.
okay, but there's all the same intent when I created the neural
No, there's
network, and it
only a
already has
prompt.
no,
It doesn't.
no.
There.
The prompt, the
Mhm.
size of the prompt and everything
Yes.
is
Yeah.
already pre-created by the artist. The only thing that happens is when some dumb person presses a few buttons on their keyboard, that it displays the artwork that I've already wanted after the computer does some math. I've already chosen every single input and output possible of this program as me, the artist, and you putting in the words and phrases into the model is just displaying my artwork that I've already created.
This is a little bit arcane, because that means I just don't think that means. I guess an analog for this would be like if you went to a museum and there was like a performance art thing where people pressed a button and a printer printed out art from an artist that already made it. Is that kind of the analogy? Like, is that analogous to what you're talking about? How what would be printed out would still be art because an artist initially made it?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think a better example is like, all right, if I go to a museum and I put out, I don't know, 500 different color tiles, and there's an arrangement that you can make on the wall to put it into like a mosaic, right? Then
I don't think that's a good
I,
analogy
as
because I
the
feel
creator
like
of that
people.
exhibit,
I feel like that would be art because people would be choosing where to put those tiles. Sorry, go ahead. I jumped ahead. Sorry.
oh, but
No, but
there's
the
only
people placing
there's
those tiles wouldn't be the artist, right? The person that made that
It would at that point.
presentation
It would be a
would be the
collaborative work.
artist.
No, it would be a collaborative work if they're choosing where to put the tiles to create art. Then I think
so,
that's a collaborative
but
work.
so in that I've limited the number of tiles and the availability, correct?
Yeah.
So they can only choose from the tiles that I put there. So
But
when
they're
you
still
create the
making
AI,
choices between what tiles you have
sure,
to give to put on there.
right? So when I create the AI, the only inputs possible are the number of tokens that I allow it. So the number of letters that you can put into that model. So I've already chosen that. There's only the English dictionary that you can choose from, and you're only going to get outputs using those. And then you're using every single number between 0 and I think 2 to the 32nd. Those are the only possible inputs, and you can only get
I can
things
see
out that I could have foreseen.
I just don't think it's the same. I think that again, like I think it is a good analogy with the tiles because yes, two people could ostensibly, given a limited number of tiles, make the same exact thing, and if in a limited format like that, where all you have is this limited number of tiles and a little screen, two people could probably make the same thing, and their personal individual style and artistic eye wouldn't show up. But I think that's more okay in a collaborative work, whereas with AI, it's literally like you're just taking something small that doesn't actually contain any of their artistic preferences or skill or like their vision, how they see the world, anything that I feel like makes art different from copying isn't present in that.
But why is it not present? Those choices have already been made.
Because if two people enter the exact same prompt, the only
Well, yes,
reason
because-
the output
because if-
wait, let me finish. The only reason the outputs are going to differ is because of randomization on the end of the AI, not because of the intent of the artist.
Well, no, because there's a random seed. But
Yeah,
that's
what I mean.
point,
It's
right?
not
If-
the intent of the
If two
artist.
people go to the board, if two
Yeah.
different people go to the board and put the same pattern up, that's it. It's still the same piece of art that the person who's created that.
And that's why I said
exhibit
I
has
feel like it's
unlocked.
probably different in terms of like a collaborative work, but I don't feel like AI is a collaborative work. You're not collaborating with the creators necessarily with intent. I feel like there's more.
What
but
do
I
you mean?
still
It's just
would.
a viewing experience for them at that point, right? Like,
What do you mean?
you're not collaborating with people when you
No,
go
because
watch a movie.
no, because none of the creators of these, I think they've specifically tried not to imbue, or I would imagine they would. I'm just guessing. I don't think they've tried to imbue their own artistic preferences into it. I know, like I said earlier, I think there's a couple ones that have tried to weight things to be more inclusive. But beyond that, they're not making artistic choices.
How would they not
but
be? Every time you're
they're-
putting in a preference for the AI, you would essentially be making an artistic decision, right?
Yeah, but as the creators, but they're I think they would explicitly be not trying to do that in a way that's like curating it for art. I think they're trying to make it as broad as possible, which is the opposite of that.
Can you elaborate? What do you mean by making it as broad as possible?
So if you were going to create your own AI training library and train it and everything, whatever, you would be choosing those images for a reason. You would be picking specific weights for things for a reason. And that would be all artistic choices that I would be like behind, because that's your vision, these are your choices, da da da. Whereas there's like the people who created these who are largely just doing this to match prompts as accurately as possible and give people like what they want, rather than being like, this is my artistic vision, this is what I want to see in it.
Well, his artistic vision is that people that put in things see the things that they want to see.
I feel like
and when
this
they put
is
in the things,
this is having the same issue as like kind of broadening the definition of art, where like if you're considering that to be kind of like artistic vision, I feel like that's also nebulous and kind of broad.
I think if you're getting outcomes that people want and they're willing to use them in the same ways that they would traditional art, it's creating traditional art. If it's indistinguishable, if you couldn't go to two people and separate them, if you could use them in the exact same way and purpose, it's still artistic. And if you're not outputting the exact same thing that somebody else does, or you're creating meaningfully different works of art, you're no longer infringing on people's copyright.
Just disagree, I think. I feel like there's like just kind of fundamental disagreements in terms of like what makes things different, what makes things different when a machine does them versus when a human does them, and how that's related to copyright law, things like that.
Is it my turn?
If you want to go
What
for
the
it.
fuck is that?
Session. All right, Destiny.
Oh.
You ready for this?
What am I? What am I being? What invoked for?
I need to convince you that art is a super language.
Okay.
Can you describe English, the language, to me?
Probably not.
Try.
Okay, I love you guys. I'm gonna hop out. Bye.
See you later, buddy. Languages probably do a couple of things. I would say that the philosophy of language is like a whole thing. Like people spend their whole lives trying to define this shit. I would say, broadly speaking, a language is probably something that we develop to roughly convey a mind state to another person. Like roughly speaking, in the broadest sense.
Okay. The reason I call art a super language is because it not only allows us to do that, but also lets us interpret things from the world where they might not actually exist.
I don't know what that is.
So people can use art to communicate, right?
Can they communicate what?
They can try to invoke concepts or ideas, thoughts.
Sure, you can do that with almost anything.
But it has to be a language.
I guess. How would you define language?
How would I define language? It's a interpretation tool that we use to communicate with each other and with our surroundings.
Okay.
So when we,
Why do I have to be convinced that this is gonna get like really complicated?
because this is the only way that art can have a good definition.
Okay.
If you think of art as a language, then it all makes sense. Because you don't label something as like English or Spanish, the language, right? English and Spanish, the language, are trying to give you a like a game engine to interpret things, to do a lot of the legwork for you. And art is kind of a untamed version of that.
Okay.
Where it lets us take all this sensory information that we gather and interpret it into concepts or ideas or emotions or things like that. So like the art, quote unquote, label equivalent of English would be like an English essay, right? It's an intentional process in which we're trying to convey at least general broad ideas through like the medium. But what's so beautiful about art is that it allows us to do things that are not intentionally trying to communicate with us.
All right. That could work, I guess.
Do you have any issues with the definition? Is there any reason that you would not like this definition?
It just seems really, really wordy and complicated. I don't know if I would try to make a normal person understand it. But hey, if it works, then it works. Then fucking A, dude. Hell yeah.
I'm gonna go snack dinner, but this was a fun talk.
Yeah, thanks a
little
lot.
chaotic, but I had
Yeah.
a good time.
I think that there's a really complicated question around. I mean, I'm sure at the very least you agree with that it's very, very complicated to even know like what is art.
Oh yeah, the whole reason I wanted to talk about this is because I think it's nebulous and subjective. But I feel like I have my standards for what it is, and I wanted to discuss those, and I think we discussed them to fucking death, honestly. So.
All right. Careful. Thanks for the chat. If you ever want to pop in to hash it out or some more too. Although I think we kind of know where we land this, but if there's any more you want to talk about, jump in.
Sure. See ya.
Bye.
Okay. My God. My brain hurts. My brain hurts so much. That was a good first debate, though. I feel like I don't think I had a glowing showing, but I'm happy with what I contributed. It is what it is. I'm debating whether I want to go get dinner or whether I want to pop back over to Twitch and join Prime Guy's panel. Yeah, that was chaos. I think next time I debate something, I want it to be something way fucking less nebulous and subjective, because that was where so much shit got hung up on. But I feel like I had like a concrete point that I feel like people just wanted to skip around a little bit and kind of deny was there. I mean, nobody, only like one person kind of agreed with me, and even then, I don't know. I don't think I convinced anybody. I think that probably I have probably made a not good first showing in terms of DDG chat. There were a lot of comparisons of me to Lav, which I wish I didn't have a similar voice and accent, which is irritating. But I'm happy with I think I did as good as I could have done given the subject and my stance on it, I think. No, I think I could have done better actually, but I am still happy with how it went. Definitely for like a first like debate with that many people and a lot of people. I think that was okay. Yeah, I definitely need to get more assertive. I also tuned out at one point and just started drawing again, which was probably suboptimal. But it felt like they were going over the same thing over and over again, kind of irrelevant points to the point I was trying to make, and so I probably should have listened even if I felt they were irrelevant. That's my bad. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And that's something that seems to be pretty common in every like online debate sphere, so that's something that I will have to get used to and learn how to interject myself and not wait for a quiet opportunity to chime in, because that time will never ever come. But yeah. I don't know, I feel like the couple times that I've popped in on Destiny's stream a couple times before with just like random things to say, random anecdotes here and there, and each time they've been like pretty positive towards me. This is the first time everyone has been like not everyone. There were actually a bunch of artists in there who were like there were a couple that I saw that said like she has a point, but she's just not articulating it properly. And there were a few times I felt like I wasn't articulating it properly. So, but I feel like there were a lot more hostile messages in chat this time than. But then again, I was on here a lot longer than I ever was before, so that's probably more time for people to like watch and get invested. And yeah. No, loudest. I just need to be louder, guys. I just gotta, I'll do like voice exercises and just like maybe I'll get a good deep baritone going on. I'll try and train my voice lower so that I'll be like more alpha sounding. Because that actually no, I'm talking shit. This crowd isn't really into the whole like red pill alpha shit. Maybe subliminally, but yeah. Shut the fuck up. I thought it looked like Nicolas Cage earlier. Elon Musk is like a whole nother level of terrible. I was trying to get AI bro is gonna AI bro. I really don't. I feel like it's that same thing where they were kind of being willfully oblivious to the fact that there's a limit to how much intent you can imbue and how much hand you have in the end result and how little it actually matters and how little it's. Oh, bless you. My goodness. Hi, can I help you guys? Gesundheit. I don't know if you guys heard that, but Ferbert just sneezed and walked over on the bed. Oh yeah, what's up? Oh, sorry. I was talking to Ferbert because he was sneezing. My bad. Oh, you mean put the mic closer to my face to be louder? If I bring it down more than it, yeah, intentionally obtuse, I think. I feel like definitely. But overall, I'm like slightly mentally exhausted, but I feel like for a first hop on the stream, it wasn't so bad. I'm not mad about it. Why do I draw women? Yeah, I was like... And the whole thing about like trying to pretend that what makes artist art unique is like super nebulous and inquantifiable. And then also saying that we could absolutely quantify it and give it to a machine, that was kind of confusing. Oh my god. I was like, bye? What the fuck? I don't know, dudes. My mom got me a lot of comic books growing up. The Mummy? I don't know, man. Shit. I blame Rachel Weisz and assorted other hot women. What can you do? Oh, good grief. Yeah, do you guys think I should keep streaming on here or pop back over to Twitch? Because basically the only reason I was on this, I feel bad being like, alright guys, let's go to a whole other place. Like, do a whole different thing. Set me up somewhere else. What time is it? 7:50? When did I start? 2:30? Oh, I've been going for like 5 hours. That's not bad. Okay. I feel like I did pretty good today. Let me, one day anything is possible. Oh my god. I have, like 5 message requests of people who I guess were trying to DM me during this. Oh lord. Good shit. It looks like the, Prime Kai's debate, panel is, still going. Video game microtransactions and the Ukraine war are the topics. I don't... Yeah, I'll probably go... Yeah, I think I'll go back on Twitch then. Alright. Thanks for going on this journey over to YouTube with me to, go in the debate wars. Anyways, I'll pop